Chapter 995. Yan Honghua's first battle was against Lin Yan, and both of them were equally matched. Moreover, with the Celestial Island in front of them, it would be unwise to reveal too many of their trump cards before they even started exploring. Yan Honghua was also aware of this, so she only wanted to test the strength of the Child of Destiny this time. After fighting for a while, Yan Honghua retreated. "Humph, I'll let you off this time." Lin Yan snorted. "Who will let who go?" "I don't know either." Yan Honghua sneered. After the two of them stopped fighting, another warship appeared not far away. On the warship were the students of the 100 Academies. Everyone could tell that this was the ship of the 100 Academies. For a moment, everyone's gaze turned solemn. Will that person come? Academy. I heard that that person has become a teacher in the academy. Now that Peng Lai has appeared, that person should also come. A man who defies the heavens and slays immortals. Everyone raised their heads in anticipation. The immortal seed's gazes turned solemn. Yan Honghua also looked at the academy's warship expectantly. But when they looked at the people on the academy's warship, they could not help but look disappointed. That person was not here. The people who came from the academy this time are also extraordinary. There are 3 teachers leading them, and all 3 of them are immortals. There is also Gu Lufang and Gu Wuqing, the king of celestial seeds. As expected of an immortal ancient orthodoxy. Indeed, but I don't see that person. When that person isn't here, I feel like it has lost a lot of its luster. On the warship of Sword Burial Sea. The Saber King frowned as he slowly stood up. A domineering surge of saber intent emanated from his body as he stared at the crowd from the academy. Where's Chu Kuangren? There's no reason for him not to come to Peng Lai Island. Mr. 13 is currently in seclusion. Mr. 4th said calmly. Seclusion? The appearance of Peng Lai Island? But he was in seclusion. What kind of joke was this? Is he a coward? The Saber King's body emitted a gray sword resentment aura. His eyes gradually revealed a brutal look. Mr. First glanced at him and said faintly, I heard that there's an evil saber technique in the burial of Sword Sea called the 3 Sabers of Avicii? Was it the taboo of the buried Sword Sea? From the looks of it, you must have cultivated this cultivation method. So what if I am? I cultivate the 3 blades of Avicii and forcefully absorb the sword resentment chi? To defeat Chu Kuangren, I don't care if he's really in closed-door meditation or not. Tell him to come out now. The tyrannical look in the Saber King's eyes became even more intense. Saber intents crisscrossed the surroundings as if there were countless sword-wielding evil spirits roaring. You want to fight against King Yi? It's funny. At this time? An indifferent voice sounded. He saw Yan Honghua holding a gun. He slowly walked over. Hear her voice? Lan Yu was pleasantly surprised. Honghua. It's really you. Lan Yu? Long time no see. Yan Honghua looked at Lan Yu and sensed that her aura was no weaker than her own. If he hadn't obtained the immortal world's will? If he became the son of destiny? He would probably be left far behind by the other party. Looks like you have a chance too. You're the same. Lan Yu laughed. Fellow countrymen meeting fellow countrymen? Both of them had a lot to say. The child of destiny? I don't mind killing you here and then snatching your heaven's will. The Saber King said coldly. Give it a try. Yan Honghua pointed her spear at him. Lan Yu stared coldly at the Saber King. You were defeated by our master in one move back then. You can only be so arrogant when our master isn't around. If our master is here, he can kill you with a single thought. The 2 ladies' auras circulated and their domineering auras emanated. Not bad. If our master is here, he can defeat you with a single thought. You think you're worthy of being our master's enemy? You're overestimating yourself. Gu Lufang, Gu Wuqing, and the others spoke one after another. The crowd could not help but be amazed. Every single one of them was a top-notch fairy seed cultivator. Some of them were even fairy seed kings, the children of destiny. However, every single one of them respected Chu Kuangren very much. This piqued the curiosity of countless cultivators who had never seen Chu Kuangren before. What kind of peerless figure was he? B*****. The Saber King's eyes were filled with rage as he was being belittled by the crowd. The long saber at his waist was already trembling. Just when he could no longer control his emotions and was about to attack, someone came to his side and held him down. It was a black-robed middle-aged man with a determined look on his face. A steady saber intent emanated from his body like a huge mountain. Chu Kuangren is not here, and now is not the time to attack. Keep your emotions in check and don't let the sword resentment chi control you. The black-robed middle-aged man said. I understand, uncle. The Saber King took a deep breath and gradually calmed himself down. He snorted coldly and said no more. Meanwhile, the lady in the palace attire had arrived at the academy's worship. Mr. First and the others were stunned when they saw her. A strong cultivator. A top-notch cultivator who was no weaker than the principal. Mr. First thought to himself. You are, greetings, everyone. I'm Gong Yu from the Jade Pure sect, and also Honghua's honorable teacher. Gong Yu smiled. Oh, a senior from the Jade Pure sect. My apologies. Mr. First cupped his hands in greeting. The Jade Pure Immortal School, like the 100 Clans Academy, originated from the Immortal Ancient Era. Gong Yu was the current leader of the Jade Pure Immortal School. She usually lived in seclusion and was rarely seen by the world. As the immortal orthodoxies arrived one by one, everyone began to enter Penglai Island to explore. However, most of them acted independently. The only one who joined forces was, seal off Penglai Island. No other cultivators are allowed to enter. Any non-immortal grade orthodoxies that dare to come within 1,000 miles of Penglai Island will be killed without mercy. Those weak ones, don't get involved in this. All the major immortal orthodoxies joined forces and set up layers of restrictions around Penglai Island, isolating the rest of the cultivators outside. Some of the cultivators who were already exploring Penglai Island had no choice but to retreat due to the threat of the immortal orthodoxies. When the immortal ancient battlefield first appeared, it was difficult for the immortal orthodoxies to seal it off due to its huge size. Hence, many cultivators were allowed to explore. However, this time, the immortal orthodoxies had joined forces to seal off Penglai Island's shard. They would not allow anyone else to enter so easily. Although the rest of the cultivators complained, they could not do anything about it. It was their fault for not having any background or strength. TSK, how domineering. Yan Honghua said. This is the reality. Even the immortal ancient orthodoxies can't change it. Gong Yu smiled helplessly. Forget it. Let's go in and explore. All the orthodoxies continued to explore Penglai Island. Meanwhile, hundreds of millions of miles away. In the 100 Academy. In Chu Kuangren's residence, an endless amount of spiritual qi surged and gathered. Amidst the Daoist rhymes, the validation seal was formed. Not long after, the transformation dissipated. The door opened with a creak. The smell of alcohol gushed out, and a white-robed young man walked out along with it. This young man's eyes were misty and his handsome face was flushed red. He subconsciously called out, Lan Yu, get me a basin of water. However, no one in the courtyard responded. It was even to the extent that the phenomenon of the Dharma verification seal didn't draw over a single figure. It seemed like such a phenomenon wasn't strange to the members of the academy. In fact, it was almost the same. Chu Kuangren had caused so many transformations that the academy's students and teachers were already numb to it. Isn't it just a few validation seals? What's there to be surprised about? Chapter 996. Lan Yu, get me a basin of water. Your master has a headache, Chu Kuangren called out again. He looked like he was suffering from a hangover. The divine enlightenment wine was too intoxicating. Although it allowed him to create his own immortal techniques and gain a lot of insights, even an immortal would be drunk to the point of being unconscious. Where is everyone? Chu Kuangren called out a few times but did not see anyone. He was a little confused. After a while, he slowly recovered from his hangover and washed his face with a basin of water. Where did everyone go? They went to Penglai Island. Xiao Ai's voice rang in his mind. What? Penglai Island, the rumored location of the Jie sect, the prime of Tongtian's execution ground? Chu Kuangren was stunned. Yes. This place has appeared. Chu Kuangren was a little surprised. Sigh, even the little fox has left, leaving me alone. How boring. Chu Kuangren sighed. Forget it, I'll draw some lottery to comfort myself. He had been drunk for the past few months and had not drawn any lottery. He hoped that the luck that he had accumulated over the past few months would explode. Chu Kuangren thought to himself and opened the fantasy roulette. Congratulations, host, you have drawn a God-tier Epiphany card. God-tier Epiphany card? He had drawn an Epiphany card before, but it was his first time drawing a God-tier Epiphany card. According to the introduction, the effect of this Epiphany card was more than 10 times that of the Divine Enlightenment wine, and the effect lasted for 3 days. 3 days, more than 10 times the effect of the Divine Enlightenment wine? Sounds good, but it's not too surprising. Speaking of which, I haven't drawn a supreme God-tier reward in a long time. Chu Kuangren pouted. He was not satisfied, but he was not too disappointed either. He kept the Epiphany card and decided to use it in the future. As for supreme God-tier rewards, he had only drawn them 4 times over the years. Even with the help of the lucky halo, the probability was still so low that he did not have much hope. Instead of relying on the fantasy roulette, I should think about how to obtain some opportunities of fortune from the outside world, such as Penglai Island. Chu Kuangren was also very interested in Penglai Island. Rumor had it that all Buddhas paid homage to it and all immortals paid homage to it. Sect Master Tong Tian was a supreme expert among immortals who was not weaker than the Queen Mother of the West. What kind of fortuitous opportunities were hidden in his execution ground? Chu Kuangren was looking forward to it. Swoosh, ripples appeared in the void, and Chu Kuangren disappeared from where he stood. Billions of miles away. Penglai Island. The immortal orthodoxies worked together to seal the area, preventing other cultivators from entering. Domineering, too domineering. These immortal orthodoxies actually won't let us in. They actually forcibly occupied Penglai Island. This is truly too despicable. Bastard, the cultivators outside Penglai Island were furious. But looking at the cultivators from the immortal orthodoxies who had sealed off Penglai Island, they could do nothing but rage. At this moment, a stream of light suddenly arrived outside of Penglai Island. The light dissipated. A white-robed youth appeared in front of everyone. This young man was extremely handsome and his actions were extraordinary. He flew towards Penglai Island and encountered many restrictions along the way. He frowned and casually threw a punch. In an instant, the void exploded. Layers upon layers of restrictions were destroyed as easily as crushing dry weeds. The cultivators from the immortal orthodoxy sensed the commotion and rushed over, glaring at Chu Kuangren with hostility. Who are you? How dare you destroy our restrictions? Do you have a death wish? The crowd yelled. However, Chu Kuangren remained calm and said, "These restrictions blocked my way, so I destroyed them. Is there a problem with that? Kid, looks like you're here to pick a fight." Just as the conflict was about to erupt. Stop! A cultivator stood out and yelled. He looked at Chu Kuangren with a serious expression. Brother Chu, please go in. Chu Kuangren glanced at him before his figure flashed and disappeared. After he left, the remaining cultivators looked at each other. Most of them still did not know what was going on, but some of them had guessed something, and their eyes were filled with uncontrollable fear. Surname Chu. Could it be that person? Who? Idiot, there's only one person with the surname Chu in this world, and he's even a young immortal seed. Of course he's the most famous one. TSK. The immortal slaying Chu Kuangren. That's right, it's that immortal slaying Mr. 13 from the 100 Academy. Thank goodness we didn't fight just now. The cultivator who yelled at Chu Kuangren earlier was so scared that his face had turned pale. He had just taken a trip to the gates of hell. Phew. Thank goodness I came in time. Otherwise, he could have killed all of you with just one hand. The cultivator who rushed over said. I thought Chu Kuangren was in closed-door meditation and didn't come. Who knows? But since he's here, I'm afraid there's going to be more variables in this exploration of Penglai Island. Inside Penglai Island, there were countless restrictions on the island. Although most of them were broken, it was still not something an ordinary cultivator could withstand. Most of the cultivators who came to explore the island were very careful, not daring to touch the restrictions. Of course, the risk was high, and the reward was high. There were countless opportunities of fortune on Penglai Island too. There were all kinds of supreme elixirs, rare treasures, and immortal techniques. This is amazing. This is just a fragment of Penglai Island. If it was the complete Penglai Island, how many opportunities of fortune would there be? Also, how powerful would the Jia school be at its peak? All the Buddhas pay their respects, and all the immortals pay their respects. It's not a groundless rumor after all. One of the cultivators who came to explore the island lamented. The people who came with him were also amazed. Suddenly, they heard the sound of fighting in front of them. They quickly rushed over and saw a group of people fighting over a treasure. It was a water droplet. The water droplet glowed brightly and intertwined with Daoist patterns. It was crystal clear. The surrounding cultivators were fighting over the water droplet. That's a drop of immortal dew. Tisk, immortal dew. It's an immortal dew that has absorbed the energy of an immortal. Judging from the energy fluctuations, this immortal dew is probably useful even to an immortal. Quick, hurry up. The newly arrived cultivators also joined the battle. The originally chaotic battlefield became even more chaotic. Humph, get lost. At that moment, an indifferent voice resounded. An old man in a green robe arrived, and a terrifying origin wave erupted. The cultivators who were fighting over it were immediately sent flying. He was a half-immortal. The half-immortal stretched out his hand to grab the immortal dew. But at that moment, a Buddhist light appeared, and a handsome young monk appeared in front of the half-immortal in a green robe. He punched out, and a terrifying golden Buddhist light erupted. The half-immortal of Green Mountain could not help but retreat dozens of feet. The little Arhat of Jinshan Temple? The half-immortal in a green robe looked at the person who came with a rather solemn expression. Benefactor, this item is fated with me. Can you give it to me? The little Arhat smiled faintly. No. The half-immortal in a green robe snorted coldly. As soon as he said that, a tyrannical and peerless pressure shrouded the little Arhat behind him, causing him to break out in a cold sweat. Looking behind the little Arhat, an old man in a golden-red kasaya was looking at him indifferently. His eyes were neither sad nor happy. It was as if he was looking at an ant. That was the immortal of Jinshan Temple. Chapter 997. The immortals of Buddhism were also known as Arhats. The green-robed half-immortal could clearly sense that the old monk in the golden-red kasaya was an Arhat. That kind of power was not something he could withstand. D****it. I can't believe I've encountered an Arhat. I'm no match for him. Retreat. The green-robed half-immortal took a deep breath and retreated. Seeing that, the old monk said, Amitabha. Almsgiver, you're able to let go of your greed. You have great willpower. I'm impressed. The green-robed half-immortal almost vomited blood when he heard that. What do you mean by letting go of my greed? F***CKU. If not for the fact that I'm no match for you, I wouldn't have let go of my greed. However, the young monk ignored him. He looked at the immortal Du in front of him with a hint of joy in his eyes. He raised his hand and grabbed it. At that moment, an invisible wave spread, and the immortal Du seemed to be pulled by an invisible force towards a certain direction. The young monk's eyes turned cold. How dare you snatch something in front of me? He took a step forward, crossing the spatial distance to grab that drop of celestial nectar. However, in the next instant, a formless force exploded and sent him flying. So what? What else do you want? A cold, lazy voice was heard as the immortal Du flew into the hands of a white-robed young man. The young man looked at the immortal Du in his hand, opened his mouth, and swallowed the immortal Du right in front of everyone. This scene left everyone's jaws agape. After all, the immortal Du contained a huge amount of energy. Even an immortal seed king would have to be careful when absorbing it. However, this person in front of them just swallowed it like that? Was this guy out of his mind? Was he not afraid of exploding and dying? However, what surprised everyone was that the person in front of them did not seem to be injured at all. The immortal Du was no different from an ordinary drop of dew. After it was swallowed, there was no more movement. This puzzled the crowd. It's him. Suddenly, one of the cultivators exclaimed. The others also reacted. They couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air as they looked at the handsome young man in white robes before them. It was Chu Kuangren. He's here at the immortal Penglai Island? F***CK, didn't they say he was in seclusion? No wonder he has the guts to rob Jinshan Temple. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Even the junior Arhat could not help but reveal a hint of fear in his eyes. You're the Chu Kuangren who killed Hui Fa. Chu Kuangren was using his universal cauldron physique to absorb the immortal Du's energy and store it in every cell in his body. This was also one of the strengths of the heaven and earth furnace physique. As long as the energy wasn't too excessive, it could be stored. He had also heard Arhat's words. However, he was stunned for a moment. Huifa, who is that? Hearing his words, everyone's mouth twitched. Huifa was one of the 12 immortal seed kings. You killed him, but you don't have any impression of him? No matter what, it was still a king immortal seed. Humph, you're playing dumb. The Arhat coldly snorted. I remember now. Hui Fa, the monk who sent me the three-headed six-armed resentful Buddha, right? Chu Kuangren said. Everyone was speechless. So in the eyes of others, Huifa was just a boy who gave away money? Speaking of the three-headed six-armed resentful Buddha, it's an immortal weapon that the Jinshan Temple obtained after suppressing the demonic Buddha sect. Please return it. The junior Arhat said. What if I say no? Chu Kuangren laughed. Then don't blame me for being rude. The junior Arhat's eyes narrowed as a large amount of Buddhist light gushed out of his body. This Buddhist light intertwined on the surface of his body and dyed his body with a layer of golden paint, giving him a sense of solemnity and holiness. A terrifying might burst forth from the other party's body. Invincible golden body technique. The junior Arhat's expression was extremely serious. He put his hands together and a surge of golden strength swept in all directions with him as the center. Many immortal seeds were swept away by this force. This is the Golden Mountain Temple's invincible golden body technique. I heard that this is an immortal technique that even the little sage monk Hui Fa failed to cultivate, but this junior Arhat succeeded. Looks like he's the strongest immortal seed hidden by the Golden Mountain Temple. The invincible golden body technique is said to be indestructible and indestructible. With unparalleled offensive and defensive capabilities, it can be said to be the strongest immortal technique of the Golden Mountain Temple. Even Chu Kuangren would have trouble with it. Tisk tsk, I've only heard of this immortal technique in rumors. Looks like I'll have a chance to see its power today. The immortal seeds looked at the junior Arhat in amazement. The junior Arhat also knew that Chu Kuangren's strength was extraordinary, so after fully activating the invincible golden body technique, he took out an immortal-grade exorcism pestle and flew towards Chu Kuangren. Let this little monk see how strong you are when you defy the heavens and slay immortals. The junior Arhat let out a low roar and smashed the pestle towards Chu Kuangren. The terrifying Buddhist light contained within it was enough to shatter a star. However, Chu Kuangren stood his ground and casually punched out. His fist was surrounded by an unknown amount of origin energy, and everyone could only see a bright immortal glow. Then, there was a cracking sound, as if something had broken. Everyone looked over and saw that the intertwining Daoist patterns on the junior Arhat's golden body had collapsed and shattered under Chu Kuangren's punch. With a loud bang, the junior Arhat, who was stronger than Hui Fa, turned into a cloud of blood mist and exploded. The exorcism pestle fell to the ground and its light dimmed. Amidst the rain of blood, Chu Kuangren let out a soft sigh and said with some annoyance, "Ah, I used too much strength." Silence. The immortal seeds were a little confused. Did he have to be so fierce? One punch. A king immortal seed who was walking on the path of immortalhood had exploded. What kind of power was that? The green-robed half-immortal swallowed his saliva with a face full of horror. He felt that he would probably end up the same if he were to face that punch. How strong is this person? Just when everyone was in shock, a wave of immortal essence suddenly erupted. They saw the Golden Mountain Temple's Arhat looking at Chu Kuangren with a gloomy face. His eyes were filled with uncontrollable anger and regret. He initially thought that with the junior Arhat's strength, even if he was no match for Chu Kuangren, he would not be easily killed. With him around, if anything happened, he could save him in time. However, he did not expect, it was an instant kill. The junior Arhat was killed the moment he made a move. Even if he wanted to save him, it was too late. If he knew this would happen, he would have stopped the junior Arhat. That was the only king immortal seed left in the Golden Mountain Temple. Chu Kuangren. First you killed Hui Fa, then you killed the junior Arhat. You and the Golden Mountain Temple are irreconcilable. The old monk said coldly. He took a step forward and a terrifying wave of immortal essence continued to spread. The surrounding immortal seeds quickly retreated. They could not withstand the anger of an immortal, even if it was just the aftermath. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, stood in place with an indifferent expression. He chuckled and said, "Then may I ask, was it me who wanted to kill first? If a monk does not cultivate good karma, who can be blamed for his death? And you're already an Arhat but still so angry. I don't mind sending you to meet the Buddha." Chapter 998. I don't mind sending you to meet the Buddha as well. Chu Kuangren said. As soon as he said that, surges of origin energy surged out of his body and surrounded him. His celestial aura shone brightly, making him look like a supreme immortal king. The powerful origin energy made the old monk wary. However, as an Arhat, he was confident that he could defeat Chu Kuangren. Rumor has it that you've defied the heavens and killed immortals, but you only defeated a half-crippled lower-tier immortal. Don't you dare compare me to the flaming sun immortal. Besides, the sword crown is not with you right now. How are you going to defeat me? Chu Kuangren, go to hell. The old monk said coldly. He raised his hand and grabbed the exorcism scepter in the air. Then, he struck it out and a dazzling golden Buddhist light broke through the air and flew towards Chu Kuangren. The powerful immortal core energy enveloped Chu Kuangren. Heh, is that all you've got? Chu Kuangren focused his sword fingers and surges of origin energy gathered at his fingertips. The thousand lotus sword intent erupted, and wherever the sword ray passed, lotuses would form in the air. Boom! The sword ray and Buddhist light collided. The void exploded. However, the sword light was like a hot knife through butter. It shattered the Buddhist light and slashed towards the old monk. Its sharpness made the spectators feel as if their bodies were about to be torn apart. All of them could not help but be shocked and their hearts palpitated. The old monk's eyes narrowed. What? He waved his demon-subduing pestle and shot out another ray of Buddhist light. Only then did he manage to shatter the sword light. However, he did not feel happy at all. On the contrary, his heart was filled with extreme fear. A casual sword ray could shatter his Buddhist light? What kind of power was that? Immortal. And it was not even a lower-tier immortal. It was at least comparable to a middle-tier immortal. Chu Kuangren had yet to embark on the immortal path, but he already had the combat strength of a middle-tier immortal. How was this possible? The old monk was extremely shocked. However, Chu Kuangren did not give him time to be shocked. He focused his sword fingers and unleashed the thousand lotus sword intent. Rays of purple light blossomed in the void and dispersed into countless petals. Each petal was a cold sword ray. The countless petals were countless sword rays that intertwined in the void, forming an inescapable net that covered the old monk. Heaven-weaving sword chi. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. The old monk let out a long roar and pushed the celestial essence in his body to the extreme. Buddha light enveloped him completely and turned into a Buddha image. This Dharma idol was solemn and sacred. Vast Buddhist light swept through the world, crazily attacking the inescapable net of sword chi. But even so, the Buddha avatar was still inevitably torn apart by the sword chi before shattering into countless specks of light. If this goes on, will I die? No. How can I die here? The old monk spat out a mouthful of golden blood essence onto the staff in his hand, then threw it away with a furious roar. The demon-subduing pestle that was stained with the Arhat's blood essence blossomed with a resplendent brilliance and burst forth with an extremely powerful might, tearing a hole in the sword chi. The old monk took the opportunity to rush out. As for the demon-vanquishing pestle, he threw it away right away. It was obvious how much pressure Chu Kuangren had placed on him. Now, the only thought left in his mind was to escape. The old monk turned into a stream of light and flew into the distance. How fast can an Arhat run away with all his might? In the blink of an eye, he had traveled millions of miles. He had even escaped into the void. However, even though he was desperately trying to escape, a white figure suddenly appeared in front of him. It was Chu Kuangren. This is not the way to the Western Paradise. Chu Kuangren said calmly. He had the spatial conveyance technique. Wherever his immortal consciousness could reach, that was where he could move. In terms of speed, few in this world could catch up to him. Even immortals were no exception. Chu Kuangren. Forgive and forget. Do you really want to fight to the death with the Golden Hill Temple? What good will that do to you? The old monk said with a panicked expression. I want to kill you. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. All I want is for my mind to be clear. Chu Kuangren said calmly. He focused his sword fingers and surges of origin energy poured out. Seal after seal of testimony floated above his head. How is this possible? The old monk's pupils shrunk to the size of a needle. Hundreds of quintessence energies and a few dozen seal of verification. What exactly is going on? What kind of cultivation monster was this person? The old monk swore that the scene before him was the most unbelievable thing he had ever seen in his life. Not only him, but the other cultivators who witnessed the scene were also dumbfounded. It was as if their worldview had collapsed. At that moment, Chu Kuangren had already made his move. He swung his sword fingers. The thousand lotus sword intent that was buffed by both origin energy and seal of testimony erupted. A dazzling purple sword ray whizzed out. Wherever it passed, the void collapsed. Under such a sword ray, the old monk was effortlessly destroyed by the sword chi. His immortal body and immortal soul turned into ashes. He's dead, dead. Chu Kuangren has defied the heavens and killed an immortal again. He's not killing a broken immortal. He's killing a real immortal at his peak. He really has the ability to kill immortals. Monster. After killing the old monk, Chu Kuangren ignored the others and kept the exorcism pestle on the ground. It was an immortal weapon after all. Although he could not use it, it was still a good thing to exchange for immortal spirit marrows. There were many opportunities of fortune on Penglai Island. On that day, a cultivator from an immortal orthodoxy coincidentally broke the seal of a cave abode. Suddenly, a terrifying wave of energy spread across the entire Penglai Island. A crimson dragon shadow appeared in the sky, shaking the universe. When the dragon's shadow dissipated, all the cultivators who came to explore the island sensed it and looked in the direction of the dragon's shadow. Their eyes lit up. This energy wave. Is it an immortal weapon? What a powerful immortal weapon wave. Let's go take a look. This kind of immortal weapon wave. Could it be a top-notch immortal weapon? No, I'm afraid it's more than that. It's a true immortal weapon. There's a true immortal weapon hidden in this Penglai Island fragment? Oh my god, I can't miss this opportunity of fortune. In the Green Orchid Immortal realm, an immortal weapon is already a rare treasure, let alone a true immortal weapon. All the cultivators rushed to where the dragon's shadow was. Meanwhile, somewhere else. A young man in a crimson robe looked into the distance with a glint in his eyes. This feeling. It's a summon from the bloodline. Could that immortal weapon be related to the dragon tribe? The young man and an old man behind him moved immediately. At the location of the immortal weapon. One by one, the cultivators arrived. The cave abode where the immortal weapon was kept had already been blown up. A crimson rope was wrapped around a stone pillar in the cave abode. Treasure light flowed on it, and Dao patterns intertwined. Waves of incomparably powerful and mysterious immortal weapon waves spread out. That's the immortal weapon. A rope? What kind of immortal weapon is that? The cultivators from the various orthodoxies arrived one by one. Gong Yu from the Yuqing immortal sect arrived as well. She looked at the rope in surprise. Could this be the legendary dragon taming rope? Mr. First of the Academy also clicked his tongue in wonder. The dragon taming rope is rumored to be a treasure used by a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal of the Jie school. Its level is far beyond that of a genuine immortal artifact. This dragon taming rope should be just an imitation. Although it's an imitation, its power is still extraordinary. Chapter 999. With the appearance of the replica dragon taming rope, countless cultivators came one after another. Everyone looked at the immortal weapon with a fiery gaze. A perfected immortal artifact was too rare in the Qinglan immortal world, and it was sufficient to cause immortals to fight for it and cause wars between orthodoxies. Roar, a dragon roar rang out, and two crimson dragon shadows soared into the sky, turning into an old man and a young man. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear when they saw this. They're from the Divine Dragon Island. That's the young master of the Scarlet Dragon bloodline. It is rumored that although Divine Dragon Island's 5 attribute young masters don't enter the world, they are all kings of immortal seeds. I think this person is the same. The Dragon Clan has come to fight for the immortal artifact as well. When the Crimson Dragon young master arrived at the scene and saw the dragon binding rope, his eyes burned with passion. This is Dragon Tendon. Furthermore, this is a true immortal level tendon, and it's a pure-blooded true dragon at that. Even the red-haired dragon immortal behind him couldn't sit still. One should know that most of the dragons in the Qinglan immortal world were not pure-blooded. The true dragon bloodline was thin. The dragon tendon of a pure-blooded true dragon was of great significance to them. It was even more important than a perfected immortal weapon. If I can obtain this dragon tendon and refine it, then not only will I be able to obtain a true celestial artifact, but I can also purify my bloodline. That dragon tendon is mine to increase my cultivation talent. The scarlet dragon young master said with a fiery gaze. The crimson-haired dragon immortal looked warily at the other immortals and said, "This dragon tendon is of great significance to the dragon clan. Please, everyone, take a step back and let us have it." Hearing this, everyone looked at each other. The influence of the dragon race was huge. If it were any other ordinary immortal weapon, they would have given it to the other party if they wanted it. However, this dragon binding rope was a true immortal weapon. It was uncertain whether they could find a second perfected immortal weapon in the Qinglan immortal world. How could they just give it up like that? Even if they were from the dragon race, they weren't useless either. Long Xian, this dragon binding rope is very valuable. I'm afraid you won't be able to monopolize it just because you said so. An immortal said indifferently. That's right. Although the dragon clan is powerful, it's impossible for them to fend off so many of our orthodoxies by themselves. I can't just give this immortal item to you. The others had the same idea. The scarlet-haired dragon immortal's eyes flashed coldly, but he also knew that it was not wise to start a conflict with so many immortals. And, she's here too. The red-haired dragon immortal looked at Gong Yu. The person who stood at the peak of the Qinglan immortal world. Let me make a suggestion. At this moment, Gong Yu spoke. As soon as she spoke, everyone looked at her. As the sect master of the Yuqing immortal sect, one of the few people at the peak of the Qinglan immortal world, she was the leader of the Yuqing immortal sect. She was definitely the strongest among the immortals present. Everyone wants this immortal item, but if immortals fight, it'll be hard to avoid the repercussions. Why don't we have the immortal seeds of our sect spar with each other, and then use the seeds to decide who gets the immortal item? Gong Yu said lightly. Her words caused everyone to sink into silence. Indeed. If a battle were to erupt between so many immortals here, then it would definitely affect a great number of people. No matter how many died, it would be a heavy blow to their sections. Letting the immortal seeds fight was not a bad idea. To a certain extent, the immortal seeds also represented the heritage of each sect. If the immortal seeds were to lose, then the immortals of the sect would not be in a good position to fight. Alright, that's fine. Then we'll do as Immortal Gong Yu suggested. Then let's see whose immortal seeds can suppress the crowd. Immortal Gong Yu smiled faintly. Then, she raised her hand and gathered the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, mountains, and rivers. In the void, a large amount of immortal light filled the air, and a golden arena appeared out of thin air. It was filled with all kinds of prohibition spells. The immortals felt that even if they attacked with all their strength, it would be difficult to shake the arena that Gong Yu had created. When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but be amazed and secretly praised. Is this the peak existence of the Qinglan immortal world? This method is indeed extraordinary. Gathering the spiritual energy of the immortal world, this is the method of an earth immortal. Judging from the scale of the spiritual energy, Gong Yu has already reached the peak of the earth immortal level, and even stepped into the heaven immortal level. Heaven immortals are the only heaven immortals. In the entire Qinglan immortal world, only the dean of the college, the sovereign of the demon court, and a few others might be heaven immortals. Could Gong Yu be a heaven immortal? Gong Yu's casual display of power was enough to shock the immortals. Their eyes were filled with fear, and they were even more willing to let the immortal seeds participate in the battle. If the immortals were to fight, who would be Gong Yu's opponent? Instead of fighting an immortal battle that they had no confidence in, it was better to let the immortal seeds fight. Perhaps there would be a chance of obtaining the immortal weapon. Those who want to obtain the immortal weapon, come up to this arena and try. The last one standing on this arena will obtain the dragon taming rope. Gong Yu smiled faintly. As soon as she finished speaking, Yan Honghua, who was next to her, took a step forward and leaped onto the arena. She scanned the audience. Who's up? What an impatient person. Gong Yu shook her head helplessly. I'll test the ability of the Son of Destiny. An indifferent voice was heard. A beam of light flew out and landed on the arena. It was Duguyu from Linghuang Mountain. He was also a king of immortal seeds and specialized in swordsmanship. Come. Yan Honghua smiled faintly. The two of them exchanged blows in an instant. A spear, a sword. The two weapons collided in the void, each shining brilliantly. Bang, 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 shockwaves continuously exploded in the void. Lan Yu, who was not far away, was surprised. Honghua's strength is improving very quickly. Is this the power of the Son of Destiny? She secretly compared herself to Yan Honghua. Although she would not lose, it would not be easy for her to win. After a fierce battle, Duguyu was hit in the shoulder by a spear and was sent flying. His shoulder was bleeding profusely. I lost. Duguyu shook his head and retreated from the arena. The people from Linghuang Mountain were enraged. The Son of Destiny. Humph, let me have a go. A dragon's roar resounded. The young master of the Red Dragon tribe came to the arena. His domineering dragon's might swept out like a tsunami, crushing the heaven and earth. Yan Honghua's eyes were solemn. Oh, come on then. Humph, why don't you count me in? At that moment, Lin Yan from the Divine Fire cult could not sit still anymore. He leaped onto the arena and Divine Fire surrounded him. It's too troublesome to fight one by one. I think this arena is big enough. Why don't we pick our opponents and fight them together? Yuan Su's figure flashed and he also came to the arena. An extremely powerful and domineering wave of origin energy flowed out. It was not inferior to the dragon's might of the young master of the Red Dragon tribe. That's what I was thinking. The Saber King also came to the arena. With a long saber in hand, the sword Resentment Chi was boiling. Gu Wuqing and Gu Lufang also made their moves. A chaotic battle between celestial seeds seemed to be unavoidable. At that moment, ripples appeared in the void. A leg came out of the void and landed on the arena. It was accompanied by a horrifying pressure that swept out from the void like an endless gale. Everyone's pupils shrank as they looked at the void. They saw a figure in white walking out of the void. That person was handsome and had a disdainful look in his eyes. The immortal seeds have gathered and the ownership of the immortal weapons will be decided in one battle. How can I miss out on this? Why don't you all come together? Chapter 1000. Why don't all of you come at me together? A white-robed figure walked out of the void. His arrogant words shocked everyone at the scene. When the crowd saw him, they were either shocked or surprised, but no one doubted his words or his abilities. That was because the person in front of them was the immortal slaying. Chu Kuangren. King. Yan Honghua looked at Chu Kuangren with joy. Chu Kuangren noticed her too. He was a little surprised, but now was not the time to reminisce, so he just smiled and nodded. Then, he looked at the other immortal seeds calmly. The other celestial seeds were also looking at him, their gazes filled with fear. Chu Kuangren is here. I didn't expect this. D****. Now that he's here, what should we do? Even the immortals' expressions changed. Initially, they let the immortal seeds fight because they felt that the immortal seed strengths were similar, and they all had a chance of getting the immortal weapons. But now, Chu Kuangren had appeared. An extraordinary immortal slaying immortal seed. How were they supposed to compete against such an immortal seed? Chu Kuangren. You're finally here. A cold voice was heard. The Saber King looked at Chu Kuangren, the sword Resentment Chi on his body boiling, and the long saber in his hand let out a saber hum. "Oh, you're the Saber King? Heh, looks like you've improved quite a bit." Chu Kuangren curiously looked at the Saber King before him. He activated the spirit of omniscience and analyzed his opponent's information. "The humiliation you gave me last time, I will return it to you today," the Saber King said coldly. The sword resentment chi on his body circulated to its limit, and he suddenly slashed at Chu Kuangren. Wherever the saber ray passed, the void seemed to be filled with ghostly wails. However, Chu Kuangren stood still and did not move. When the saber ray got close to him, it was disintegrated by an invisible force. It could not even touch the corner of his clothes. What? The Saber King's eyes narrowed. The origin energy within his body surged again, and the sword resentment chi shot into the sky. It turned from a sword into a saber and turned into a giant saber shadow. A shrill sword hum tore through the sky. Avicii 3 Saber, 1000 Ghost Eradication. The giant saber shadow slashed down. In the void of space, countless phantoms of wraiths appeared one after another. The power of that attack had already reached the level of a top-notch half-immortal, but Chu Kuangren was still unfazed by it. Without using any techniques, he simply waved his sleeves and easily shattered that terrifying saber shadow. Impossible. At that moment, even the sword burial seas immortals could no longer sit still. They stared at Chu Kuangren with their eyes wide open in disbelief. The Saber King was also stunned. However, in the next instant, Chu Kuangren appeared in front of him. "Is this the extent of your progress?" His indifferent voice and calm eyes made it seem as if he was facing an insignificant ant, unable to cause the slightest fluctuation in his emotions. No. It's impossible for him to be this strong. The Saber King roared inwardly. He raised his long saber and once again swung it at Chu Kuangren with all his might. Avicii Dao's 3 blades, all things perish. As the blade slashed down, a bone-chilling coldness gushed out from the blade, causing all the immortal seeds present to shudder. Clang! The saber was blocked in mid-air. However, the thing that blocked the attack was a finger. It was a slender finger that was as fair as jade. It was glowing with an immortal radiance as it stopped the blade. The blade that could annihilate all things was unable to harm the finger at all, much less move it in the slightest. Gulp, the immortal seeds could not help but gulp. It was too terrifying. What kind of terrifying strength was that? No, this is impossible. The Saber King's eyes were filled with madness, brutality, and a deep sense of shock. He waved the saber in his hand like a madman. One after another, he slashed at Chu Kuangren. However, all of them were blocked by a single finger. "Looks like this is all you've got," Chu Kuangren said calmly. Then, he made his move. This was the first time he took the initiative to attack since he appeared in the arena. He focused his sword finger and pointed it forward. That finger attack was nothing special. However, there was no way to avoid it. That finger attack tore through the saber net like it was nothing. It then landed on the Saber King's chest and sent him flying. One finger attack defeated the Saber King. That did not even count as a technique. Weak, too weak. Sword burial sea technique, so that's all there is to it. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently. His gaze swept across the crowd, and the aura on his body swept out like a raging wave, wave after wave, crashing into the entire arena. The immortal seeds looked extremely serious. So this is the legendary Chu Kuangren. He's really powerful. This aura is not to be underestimated. Even children of destiny like Ling Yan, Yuan Su, and celestial seed rulers like the Crimson Dragon Young Master found it extremely difficult to deal with. "Let's attack together," one of the immortal seeds suddenly said. That person was also one of the 12 celestial seed rulers. He was usually arrogant, but now he suggested that they join forces. Let's attack together. This person's strength is too strong. Only by joining forces will we have a chance to defeat him. The Immortal Seed's eyes were filled with determination. That's right. If we don't defeat him, the immortal weapon will not be ours. Only by defeating him can we fight for the immortal weapon. The Immortal Seeds looked at each other and made a decision. Yan Honghua initially wanted to help Chu Kuangren, but Lan Yu stopped her and said with a smile, "Master, you alone are enough." She did not know how strong Chu Kuangren was. However, the tip of the iceberg that he had shown during their interactions was already far beyond her reach. Even if the Immortal Seeds joined forces, they would not be a match for him. Chu Kuangren, today, I'll let you have a taste of defeat. The domineering origin energy on Yuan Su's body was activated to its limit, and a long sword with immortal radiance appeared in his hand. With the sword in hand, his domineering aura was enhanced. The Crimson Dragon young master's body was surrounded by flames, and his scales were faintly discernible. His origin energy poured out like lava, and it was terrifying. This dragon tendon is mine today. In order to purify his bloodline, the Crimson Dragon young master was determined to get his hands on the dragon taming rope. "Humph, I heard that you've defeated Hu Shenhuang, but don't you dare compare me to him. I'm a child of destiny." Lin Yan shouted coldly. Many types of divine flames revolved around his body. The rest of the Immortal Seed's auras were also activated to their limits. Even a true immortal would be defeated and killed by the group of top-notch Immortal Seeds in the Azure Orchid Immortal realm. However, Chu Kuangren remained calm and arrogant. You may be standing at the peak of the Immortal Seeds, and you may even have the ability to fight beyond your cultivation, but I, Chu Kuangren, as he took a step forward, surges of origin energy seeped out of his body. His immortal radiance shone brightly, and his terrifying aura swept across the void. It was as if an immortal king had descended upon the world. Only once throughout the ages, one man shall reign supreme throughout the ages. Chapter 1001. Once in a lifetime, one man shall reign supreme over the ages. His arrogant words reverberated through the clouds, shocking everyone. All the cultivators stared at the white-robed figure as if they were looking at an immortal king who had shocked the past and present. Their gazes were somewhat dull. Even the immortals were shocked. He really is an anomaly. Gong Yu could not help but shake her head. One man shall reign supreme over the ages. Chu Kuangren's strength and boldness are indeed rare. This person is not a child of destiny, but his boldness and strength are even more amazing than a child of destiny. He really is an anomaly. The immortals looked at Chu Kuangren and secretly praised him. Meanwhile, on the stage, the Immortal Seeds looked at Chu Kuangren, who was so majestic and domineering that they had never seen before. Without further ado, the Immortal Seeds attacked. The first to strike was the crown prince of the great Yuan God dynasty, Yuan Su. He slashed out with the sword in his hand, and origin energy surged out. It seemed to have transformed into a magnificent army that shook the world with a brilliant might. The strength of a child of destiny was naturally extraordinary. Not to mention that Yuan Su was a reincarnated immortal. The strength of that sword attack was at the level of a top-notch half-immortal, or even close to the level of an immortal. However, Chu Kuangren remained unmoved as he slashed the void with his sword finger. The sword attack that was like a magnificent army could not shake Kuangren of eternity. One sword attack broke through the army. "Come, show me what you've got." With one hand behind his back, Chu Kuangren pointed his sword at the ground with his other hand. His stance was indomitable as he looked down on the world. "Go! Divine Flame Dao, incinerate the heavens and earth." Lin Yan attacked, and the power of several divine flames swept out. Each of them contained enough power to kill a false immortal. On the other side, the Crimson Dragon young master also activated the origin energy within his body. With a palm attack, the crimson dragon shadow charged towards Chu Kuangren with a terrifying flame that was not much weaker than the divine flames. The divine flames and dragon shadows attacked Chu Kuangren from both sides. Chu Kuangren chuckled and swiped his sword finger in the air. A purple sword ray shot out from the tip of his finger and split into two in the air, blasting the divine flames and the dragon silhouettes into smithereens. The sword ray's power did not decrease as it continued towards Yuan Su and Lin Yan. Boom! Bang! With two explosions, the two children of destiny were pushed back 100 meters. So powerful. No matter how strong a person is, there should be a limit. Continue. After the attacks of the two children of destiny failed, the attacks of the other immortal seeds arrived. All sorts of powerful immortal spells were unleashed. Blue Sea Art. Boundless Buddha Light. Thousand-Year Howling Blade. Saber techniques, sword techniques, palm chi, fist rays, and all sorts of other techniques that were imbued with dazzling celestial radiance were launched towards Chu Kuangren. Even immortals would find it hard to defend against such violent energy. However, Chu Kuangren merely chuckled. He did not seem to care at all as he focused his sword fingers. In the void, sword rays condensed and blossomed into purple lotuses. The purple lotus soared into the sky. Thousands of immortal technique attacks bombarded it, causing the void to explode in succession. Terrifying waves of air surged and swept out for thousands of miles. Did it work? No. Stop joking around. He's Chu Kuangren we're talking about. He won't be defeated that easily. Continue preparing to attack. An immortal seed said loudly. Everyone's eyes narrowed when they heard this. That was right. They were now facing the immortal-defying Kuangren of all ages. How could he be defeated so easily? Suddenly, a burst of Emperor's chi gushed out and dispersed the dust. A white-robed figure then appeared. However, Chu Kuangren was still standing proudly on the spot. His white robe was spotless, and he was unscathed. Everyone's eyes widened when they saw that. They knew that they would not be able to defeat Chu Kuangren in this round of attacks, but he was unscathed. Was this not too much? Were they really immortal seeds? Even real immortals would not be this insane. I suddenly feel like this is a very unfair battle. At that moment, Chu Kuangren suddenly spoke. He looked at the crowd and said, "It's too much for you to defeat or injure me." Everyone's expression darkened. What did he mean? Was he looking down on them? Was he going to mock them now? How about this, one step? Chu Kuangren raised a finger and said, "If you can make me move one step, I'll consider it your win. I don't want this immortal weapon anymore." He stomped his foot on the arena, and the immense force caused the arena to tremble. His foot sank a foot into the ground, forming a footprint. Everyone understood what Chu Kuangren meant. If they could make him move away from that footprint, they would consider it his loss. The crowd fell silent. In the next moment, an indescribable rage burned in their hearts, causing their eyes to turn bloodshot, and they were enraged. Are you kidding me? We'll win if you move one step. Chu Kuangren, you're too arrogant. Not only will we make you move, but we'll also defeat you. D***, what do you think we are? The immortal seeds were furious. Especially the rulers of the immortal seeds. Their faces were flushed red, and they glared at Chu Kuangren as if they were about to spit fire. The immortal seeds were proud, especially the rulers of the immortal seeds. Chu Kuangren's words were undoubtedly an insult to them, an insult that they had never experienced before. No matter how much they look down on others, there should be a limit, right? What was this? Did he really think that they were a bunch of ants? Gu Wuqing and Gu Lufang, who were not far away, could not help but feel fearful in the face of the immortal seed's wrath. A group of angry top-notch immortal seeds was terrifying. They could even unleash combat strength that exceeded their current cultivation level. Mr. Chu, you're too bold. Actually, I'm a little angry too. Gu Lufang scratched his head and said. Chu Kuangren had caused even his own people to lose their composure. One could only imagine how furious the immortal seeds were when they faced Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren, the culprit of all this, did not care at all. He hooked his finger at the crowd and said, "Come." It was a frivolous gesture and a casual tone. That one word completely ignited the immortal seed's anger. Chu Kuangren, I'll make you regret this. Go. Use everything you've learned to defeat him. At that moment, all the immortal seeds let go of their grudges and worked together like never before, just to defeat Chu Kuangren in front of them. The immortal seeds wielded their weapons and used everything they had learned to attack Chu Kuangren without holding back. Dazzling immortal technique lights, powerful origin energy fluctuations, and even immortal weapons were used. The immortal seeds used everything they had. Sneak attacks, frontal attacks, luring the enemy, bewitching illusions, joint attacks, poison. The immortal seeds used almost every method they could think of. But it was useless. Chu Kuangren stood on the ground and moved his sword fingers. Every move he made was exquisite, and every move he made was filled with invincible divine power. Water and fire could not enter his body, and swords could not touch him. All kinds of origin energy were blocked by his thousand lotus sword intent. As for illusory attacks, they were like mayflies trying to shake a tree. They could not shake his Daoist core and soul at all. Flawless. He's perfect. Flawless. The immortals outside the arena were shocked to see Chu Kuangren easily neutralize all kinds of attacks with just a wave of his hand. Is he playing? If he wants to defeat everyone, he can do it effortlessly. He's playing. He wants to see what kind of power the immortal seeds, especially the kings and children of destiny, can unleash. Gong Yu took a deep breath and said calmly. The immortals were shocked. How can there be such immortal seeds? Everyone couldn't help but have this question in their hearts. Chapter 1002. Far away, in the void. Chu Kuangren had a strange expression on his face when he sensed the yin and evil qi coming from the Golden Mountain Temple. Oh, this energy. Did I miss something just now? Interesting. He pondered for a while but did not turn back. He was about to reach the Divine Flame Church. As for that yin and evil thing, he could just kill it if he encountered it in the future. It was not a big deal. At this moment. In the Divine Flame Church. The Divine Flame Church's leader had already learned about Chu Kuangren's destruction of the Sage City and the Golden Mountain Temple. He looked worried. If I knew Chu Kuangren was this strong, I wouldn't have provoked him in the first place. Now, I'm in big trouble. The Divine Flame Church's leader said bitterly. In front of him, Ling Yan took a deep breath with a face full of dissatisfaction. Ever since he returned from Penglai Island, he had been cultivating hard, wanting to catch up to Chu Kuangren. However, before he could improve much, he heard about Chu Kuangren destroying the allied army of the Great Orthodoxies. While he was shocked, he was also extremely dissatisfied. He was the chosen one. He had the immortal realm's will and cultivated the divine flame Dao, yet he was always overshadowed by Chu Kuangren. Now, whenever the word Sky Pride was mentioned, the first person that came to mind was Chu Kuangren. As for him and the others, they were nothing more than foils. Lin Yan, take this with you. At that moment, the Divine Flame Church's leader took out a three-legged bronze cauldron. The bronze cauldron was ancient, and it was engraved with mysterious runes that gave off an unfathomable feeling. What is this? For some reason, Ling Yan felt a sense of resonance when he saw the cauldron. It was as if this item belonged to him. This is an item that has been passed down from generation to generation in the Divine Flame Church. Rumor has it that this item contains some kind of secret. Unfortunately, none of the previous leaders of the Divine Flame Church have been able to uncover this secret. Now, I shall hand this item over to you. Leave the Divine Flame Church immediately. If you can uncover the secret within this cauldron, you may have a chance to defeat Chu Kuangren and rebuild the Divine Flame Church. Upon hearing that, Ling Yan took the bronze cauldron with a determined look in his eyes. Don't worry, leader. As the chosen one, I, Ling Yan, am blessed with great fortune. One day, I will avenge all of you. After saying that, he turned around and left without looking back. Chu Kuangren, just you wait. I, Lin Yan, am not weaker than you. The Divine Flame Sect Master shook his head as he watched Lin Yan leave. He wasn't really hoping that Lin Yan could rebuild the Divine Flame Sect. He could tell that Lin Yan was a heartless person. It was impossible for him to have any feelings for the Divine Flame Ming cult. The reason why Chu Kuangren allowed him to leave with the copper cauldron was very simple. He hoped that he would cause trouble for Chu Kuangren in the future. Chu Kuangren, oh Chu Kuangren, the battle of the heavenly will is not over yet. The battle between you, the anomaly, and the Son of Destiny has just begun. Will you have the last laugh? The Divine Flame cult leader murmured. Suddenly, an extremely terrifying pressure erupted from outside the Divine Flame Ming cult. It covered the sky and earth and swept in all directions. The Divine Flame cult master's expression changed. They're here. Divine Flame, Ming cult's headquarters. Countless cultivators gathered and stared at the white-robed figure that walked out from the void. Their eyes were filled with uncontrollable fear. Coming, coming. Chu Kuangren is here. Swoosh, a ray of fire that contained immortal primary energy swept out from the headquarters and arrived before Chu Kuangren in the blink of an eye. Oh! Chu Kuangren narrowed his eyes, focused his sword finger, and slashed at the ray of fire. With a bang, sparks flew everywhere. A person walked out from the ray of fire. It was the Divine Flame cult master. His cultivation level was the same as Qi Guang's, both of them were in the 9th grade immortal realm. Chu Kuangren, if you want to destroy the Divine Flame Ming cult, you'll have to step over my dead body first. The Divine Flame cult master said coldly. He clenched his fist and punched at a mountain in the distance. The mountain suddenly exploded, and golden flames soared into the sky, burning like a torch. Between the heavens and the earth, a large amount of flame surged wildly. Ignite my Divine Flame, fight! The Divine Flame cult master let out a long roar as the surrounding flame surged towards him and entered his body, causing his aura to skyrocket. Looks like this is your trump card. Chu Kuangren said calmly. With a wave of his sleeve, a light purple guqin appeared before him. It was the immortal weapon, the 9 firmament ring. Let the 8 celestial demonic cords be your funeral. Bring it on. The Divine Flame cult master snorted. Boom! The Divine Flame burned and swept towards Chu Kuangren from all directions. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, stood still and plucked the guqin strings. With a clang, the first movement of the 8 celestial demonic cords, boundless expanse of heaven and earth, was played. The guqin music swept across and shattered the divine flames that filled the sky. Its power even spread to the ground below. One by one, the Divine Flame Ming cult disciples were killed by the guqin music. Not far away, Sword Crown was amazed at the sight. Master's guqin music is truly terrifying. He had heard about how Chu Kuangren single-handedly destroyed the allied army of the orthodoxies, but seeing it with his own eyes was better than hearing about it. This power shocked him to the core. At the same time, he felt a sense of urgency. His master's strength was so shocking. If he did not improve, how was he going to help his master in the future? Looks like I'll have to find some time to go into closed-door meditation when I return. Sword Crown murmured. Although he had once again lost a Sword Crown, he did not come out empty-handed. After this battle, he had reached the threshold of the Earth Immortal realm. In addition, with Cai's death, he had completely cut off his inner emotions. With no more shackles, breaking through to the earth immortal realm was almost guaranteed. Clang, 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 Chu Kuangren's Guqin music echoed in all directions. The Guqin music was like thunder, one after another. The divine flame cult master could not fight against it at all. Even if he sacrificed everything he had, he would still be defeated. Double reverberation of heaven and earth. The seventh movement of the 8 celestial demonic chords rang out. The terrifying sound waves were like a tidal wave that turned the entire divine flame cult's headquarters upside down. Countless disciples died. The divine flame cult master was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. His immortal body exploded. "Our leader is dead?" one of the cultivators said in shock. "Run. It's a demon. He's a demon." One by one, the cultivators began to flee in panic. However, Sword Crown was watching from afar. With a flick of his sword finger, a sky full of sword chi poured out. Chu Kuangren saw that and did not care. Not long after, the divine flame cult was destroyed. Chu Kuangren looked into the distance and pondered for a while. The other orthodoxies that attacked him were the divine dragon island and the honorable demon court. However, these two orthodoxies originated from the immortal ancient era. Their resources were not something an immortal orthodoxy like the divine flame cult could compare to. Chu Kuangren even suspected that they had a heavenly immortal as their leader. A heavenly immortal was a powerful Daoist. With Chu Kuangren's current strength, he still had a long way to go against such a person. More importantly, the effect of the 3 days ascension pill is about to wear off. I should return to the academy and break through to become an immortal first. Chu Kuangren murmured. As he spoke, his immortal essence quickly receded like a tidal wave. Beside him, Sword Crown was a little surprised. Then, he came to a realization. It seems that Master has used some kind of technique to break through to the immortal realm. Meanwhile, in the immortal realm, many people were watching Chu Kuangren's actions. The rapidly dissipating immortal essence also caught their attention. It seems that Chu Kuangren has yet to become an immortal. He must have used some kind of secret technique or consumed some kind of treasure to temporarily break through to become an immortal. Chapter 1003. The news of the destruction of the Sword Burial Sea, Holy City, Golden Mountain Temple, and Divine Flame Ming cult quickly spread throughout the Qinglan immortal world. In an instant, Chu Kuangren's infamous name shook the entire immortal realm. It was not an immortal orthodoxy. Instead, there were 4 immortal orthodoxies. In just 3 short days, Chu Kuangren had destroyed 4 immortal-grade orthodoxies one after another. This matter had shocked countless people. Too cruel, too cruel. 4 immortal-grade orthodoxies are gone just like that. I can't believe Chu Kuangren could actually do it. This guy is truly a maniac. In the future, no matter who I provoke, I won't provoke this person. The entire immortal realm trembled at the mention of Chu Kuangren's name. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren, who had stirred up so much trouble, had returned to the 100 Academy to prepare for his breakthrough into the immortal realm. Jianguan also went into secluded cultivation to break through to the Earth celestial stage. Lan Yu and the little fox were also cultivating on their own. Time flew by. It had been a year since Chu Kuangren annihilated the 3 great immortal orthodoxies. During this time, Chu Kuangren had been in closed-door meditation. Clearly, becoming an immortal was more difficult than he had imagined. Perhaps this was because his origin was different from ordinary people. During the 1 year that Chu Kuangren was in closed-door meditation, the outside world had undergone many changes as many things happened. For example, the great Yuan God dynasty's son of destiny, Yuan Su, had caught the eye of the immortal ancient Dao sect's heavenly punishment sacred sect and joined them, becoming one of their Daoists. Another example was the son of destiny, Lin Yan. After the divine flame Ming cult was destroyed, he trained in various places and relied on his outstanding courage and luck to quickly rise to power. There was also a rumor that Lin Yan had learned an exquisite alchemy technique from somewhere. With this exquisite alchemy Dao, no matter where he went, he was treated as a distinguished guest. There was also Yan Honghua and Lan Yu who were famous in the immortal world. They were known as two of the four beauties of Qinglan. Recently, there was another big piece of news. Divine Dragon Island Son of Destiny, the Golden Dragon Young Master, was the first to overcome the 3 calamities and 9 tribulations and become an immortal. This news could be said to have caused quite a stir. Although the Golden Dragon Young Master of the Divine Dragon Island didn't venture out much, one could imagine his strength. The Young Master of the Divine Dragon Island's Golden Dragon bloodline. At the very least, it should be a king of immortal seeds. Furthermore, he was the son of destiny. Just how powerful was his battle prowess after breaking through to become an immortal? Quite a number of people even compared him to Chu Kuangren, whose name had shaken the immortal realm a year ago. They wanted to see who was more outstanding between the two. Some said that it was Chu Kuangren. After all, he had slain dozens of immortals, and his combat strength had been witnessed by the entire immortal realm. Some said it was the Golden Dragon Young Master. The reason was that Chu Kuangren had forcefully ascended to the immortal realm through some means. He did not even go through the 3 disasters and 9 tribulations, so he was not an immortal. The Golden Dragon Young Master was a genuine immortal. For a time, they argued endlessly. Both sides said that they were right, and both sides said that they were right. Neither side could convince the other, and until today, there was no conclusion. After the young master of the Golden Dragon clan became an immortal, another piece of shocking news spread and caused an uproar in the entire Qinglan immortal world. That was, Divine Dragon Island was preparing to form a marriage alliance with Mount Wudong. One of the 2 parties involved in the marriage was the Golden Dragon Young Master, who had recently become famous in the immortal world. He was the first of the known children of destiny to ascend to immortality. The other was a phoenix lady from Mount Wudong. The marriage alliance between the 2 most powerful beasts caused a sensation that was no less than Chu Kuangren's battle back then. There were too many things involved in this matter. In Mount Wudong. "I'm not getting married, I'm not getting married." A young lady was protesting against the 2 mountain chieftains of Mount Wudong. The 2 mountain chieftains were a man and a woman. They were a pair of Daoist companions, and they were also the 2 most powerful beings in Mount Wudong. "Phoenix Hong, my surname is Chu," the young lady said firmly. The handsome mountain chieftain frowned, and a hint of displeasure flashed across his eyes. "You're a godly phoenix, so your surname should be Phoenix." "My surname is Chu." Chu Hong still did not change her mind. "All right, Chu Hong, this is a serious matter. That Golden Dragon Young Master is the most outstanding dragon among the younger generation of the Divine Dragon Island, and he's also a child of destiny. Rumor has it that he's about to evolve into a pure-blooded dragon, and you happen to be a pure-blooded godly phoenix. Marrying him will only bring you benefits." Beside her, the lady in luxurious robes, Mountain Chieftain Huang, advised. "I'm not getting married." "I said I'm not getting married." "That's not up to you." Mountain Chieftain Feng said coldly. "You guys," Chu Hong was furious, but there was nothing she could do. In the end, her figure flashed, and she turned into a stream of light that flew into the distance, wanting to leave Mount Wudong. However, before she could fly far, a fiery red barrier of light appeared in the sky and intercepted her. "It's useless. The entire Mount Wudong is isolated by the leaf fire barrier. Without my permission, you won't be able to leave." Mountain Chieftain Feng said calmly. "Even if you lock me up here, I will definitely not marry that Golden Dragon Young Master. Chu Hong, we'll bring you back to Mount Wudong and help you awaken the pure-blooded godly phoenix bloodline. We'll let you be the phoenix lady." Now, we're just asking you to do something for Mount Wudong. Aren't you willing? Mountain Chieftain Feng said coldly. I'm very grateful for what you've done for me. I'm also willing to contribute to Mount Wudong, but not this time. Chu Hong said. She had never even seen that golden dragon young master before. Wanting her to marry him was worse than killing her. You. Mountain Chieftain Feng was furious. Husband, let me say it, Mountain Chieftain Feng said. She looked at Chu Hong and said, I've already invited the golden dragon young master to Mount Wudong. How about this, you can spend some time with him. If you're really not suitable, we'll talk about it then. No matter what, I won't marry him. Chu Hong took a deep breath and turned to leave. Beside her, Mountain Chieftain Feng saw this and a cold look flashed across her eyes. She said, in the end, it's not a godly phoenix that grew up in Mount Wudong. It can't be raised well. In short, it's imperative to unite with Divine Dragon Island by marriage. Husband, are we really going to do this? Mountain Chieftain Feng said helplessly. Divine Dragon Island has developed rapidly in the past 10,000 years. Outstanding dragon sons have appeared one after another. Vaguely, Mount Wudong has been suppressed by them. Now, another son of destiny has appeared. It can be said that the heavens are blessing the dragon clan. Mountain Chieftain Feng sighed. There's also the Supreme Demon Court. Under the leadership of that demon lord, it has a vague tendency to unify the demon clan. Don't forget, they captured Qing Feng some time ago. What does this mean? It means that they've been plotting against Mount Wudong for a long time. Mount Wudong is currently lacking in manpower. If we don't unite with Divine Dragon Island through marriage, it's only a matter of time before we get annexed by the Supreme Demon Court. Mountain Chieftain Feng still had lingering fears when she heard that. Fortunately, Qing Feng had Chu Kuangren's help to return safely. Moreover, he even awakened the Green Phoenix bloodline. This is a blessing in disguise. But this Chu Kuangren has also killed one of our Phoenix sons. Mountain Chieftain Feng snorted coldly. The Green Phoenix has the ability to foresee things. Qing Feng said that Mount Wudong's turning point lies with Chu Hong. Are you really going to marry her off? Don't forget, Qing Feng said that Chu Hong's turning point is coincidentally the time for the Divine Dragon Island to unite with Mount Wudong through marriage. In my opinion, the turning point is for Chu Hong to marry the Golden Dragon young master. When that time comes, we can gather the strength of Divine Dragon Island and Mount Wudong to help the Golden Dragon young master become the son of destiny. Mountain Chieftain Feng said confidently. Chapter 1004. On the peak of the mountain. A group of immortals and immortal seeds were approaching the praying mat. However, the praying mat was far too harsh on one's Dao heart. Even an immortal like Gong Yu could not get within 100 feet of the praying mat. Many immortals were already drenched in sweat and sprawled on the ground. Some of the immortal seeds almost fainted. It's too difficult. It's really too difficult. Looks like we have no way of obtaining this praying mat. An immortal shook his head in disappointment. He was one of the strongest immortals here, but even he couldn't get within 5,000 feet of the prayer mat. Presently, he felt that every single step he took was a heavy blow to his Dao heart, and if he were to continue, then his Dao heart would probably collapse. If that really happened, then his losses would outweigh his gains. Looks like I can only stop here. Gong Yu shook her head. Even if it was her, she wouldn't be able to continue. She stared at the praying mat as disappointment and unwillingness flashed through her eyes. Sigh, this is the will of the heavens. This item is not something that I can possess. Tap, tap, at this moment, a series of footsteps suddenly sounded. A white-robed figure stepped onto the peak of the mountain and walked towards the praying mat. This person was dressed in white, and his footsteps were light as if he was under no pressure at all. That person was Chu Kuangren. It's him. Wait, why doesn't he feel any pressure? Ling Yan, the Saber King, and the other immortal seed stared at Chu Kuangren in horror. They could not even move an inch. However, Chu Kuangren did not seem to feel any pressure at all. What's going on? Yuan Su stared at Chu Kuangren in disbelief as he walked past him. As a reincarnated immortal, his Daoist core was in no way inferior to Gong Yu's. Although he had suffered a blow from Chu Kuangren earlier, he was no weaker than the other immortals. Hence, he had left the other immortal seeds far behind him. Originally, he was a little proud. However, compared to Chu Kuangren, his Dao heart was almost not worth mentioning. At the thought of this, Primordial Void's Dao heart trembled. The power that was supporting his Dao heart suddenly increased, directly pressing him to the ground. However, Chu Kuangren could not care less about it. Who are you? Yuan Su was lying on the ground. She muttered as she stared at Chu Kuangren's back. Not just an immortal seed. The immortals were stunned as well. After Chu Kuangren passed the immortal seeds, he began to pass the immortals one by one. When he passed by the teachers of the academy, he stopped for a while. He nodded slightly at the confused gentlemen and greeted them. Then, he continued walking forward. Light footsteps. It was like taking a leisurely stroll in the courtyard. Until he passed by Gong Yu. He became the person closest to the praying mat. His, immortal seed. The immortals sucked in sharp breaths. This? How is this possible? His Dao heart actually surpassed all of us. Did he use some kind of trick? Cheating? This is a test aimed at one's Dao heart. How can one cheat? A young immortal seed? How could he have such a Dao heart? No one knew. Before he entered the immortal world? Did Chu Kuangren overcome a demonic barrier? Since then? His Dao heart could no longer be shaken. His Dao heart had been elevated to an unimaginably powerful realm. Was this praying mat a test of one's Dao heart? Very strong. Even an immortal like Gong Yu, who had experienced the vicissitudes of life, could not pass it, but he could. His Dao heart? It was unbreakable and unshakable. Mr. 13 is really capable of doing the impossible. Mr. First exclaimed. The other teachers and students agreed too. At that time, Chu Kuangren was already 100 meters away from the praying mat. The power that tested one's Dao heart was more than 10 times stronger. However, Chu Kuangren did not stop walking towards the praying mat. My Dao heart is as firm as a rock. In this world, is there anything that can move people? Chu Kuangren murmured. As he approached the praying mat, countless illusions gradually appeared in front of him. The empire was destroyed, the firmament star civilization was destroyed, the people and things that he treasured were constantly disappearing in front of him. How despicable! Chu Kuangren was still unmoved by these things. Then, an incomparably glorious palace appeared in front of him. Countless immortals stood in front of the palace. Greetings, Your Majesty. These immortals knelt before him, as if thousands of immortals had come to pay their respects. A dazzling golden throne appeared before him, and it was suffused with boundless temptation. It was as if he could become the supreme ruler of the immortal realm, the ruler of heaven and earth, the ruler of heaven and earth if he sat on it. However, Chu Kuangren only took a glance at it before he lifted his foot and stepped on the throne. Ruler of heaven and earth? Heh, how tempting. Boom! With a stomp of his foot, the throne collapsed with a loud bang. The countless immortals in front of him also dissipated like smoke. Unfortunately, as the ruler of heaven and earth, I prefer to take it myself instead of relying on an illusion to give it to me, Chu Kuangren said. He continued to walk forward. At that moment, the sky and earth suddenly turned dark. One more step and you'll die. In the darkness, a majestic voice sounded as if it came from all directions, making it impossible to tell where it came from. Interesting, but I like to live from death. Chu Kuangren continued to walk forward. In an instant, surges of sword chi flew out from the darkness, piercing through his limbs, and an intense pain rushed into his mind. At that moment, whether it was an illusion or reality, it seemed to have been confused. Chu Kuangren's expression was calm. Even though his limbs had been pierced, he did not seem to feel it and continued to walk forward. Surges of sword chi flew out from the darkness, and ferocious evil spirits crawled out, tearing at his body. Even the purgatory was no better than this. My heart is like a bright lamp. Wherever I go, there will be no darkness. Chu Kuangren's body was covered in wounds and blood as he said. In an instant, a boundless brilliance bloomed from his body, and countless wounds disappeared without a trace. The sword chi that flew towards him dispersed, and the thousands of evil spirits also melted. The endless darkness was lit up, and there was no more haze. Good. A chuckle came from the void. Then, Chu Kuangren's vision changed. Before he knew it, he had already walked to the foot of the immortal tree. In front of him was the pristine futon. Behind him, the immortals and immortal seeds were already stunned. He succeeded. He actually succeeded. He really made it there. My God, how strong is this person's Daoist core? His talent and strength are unparalleled, and now even his Daoist core is indestructible. This person is truly flawless. This person is a natural-born cultivator. The immortals initially thought that Chu Kuangren had shocked them enough, but this person had repeatedly refreshed their knowledge. This person was unfathomable, like a bottomless pit. Master, you're destined to stand at the peak of the immortal Tao. Lan Yu stared at Chu Kuangren's back with a fanatical gaze. The king is indeed the king. He easily achieved what we didn't even dare to think about. Yan Honghua was also in awe. All hail the king. The little fox only knew how to cheer. To her, Chu Kuangren was almost a synonym for omnipotent. I thought I've already overestimated him, but I still underestimated him, Gong Yu murmured. His Daoist core was far from hers. No one in the entire Qinglan immortal world could compare to him. Chapter 1005. Since I've arrived, aren't you all going to die? His casual words were mixed with an insufferably arrogant tone. That one sentence sealed the Bronze Heavenly Court's fate. Everyone's expression turned grim as they felt fear in their hearts. This was the first time they had encountered such a terrifying being in so many years. That kind of aura was something they could only look up to. Even the Grand Marshal, who had fought countless battles and was fearless in the face of danger, could not help but take a deep breath to suppress the fear in his heart. With a roar, a silver-white spear appeared in his hand, and the green armor on his body began to glow with light patterns. We still don't know who will be the winner. The Grand Marshal roared as he smashed his spear into the ground. Suddenly, as if some kind of mechanism was activated, countless Daoist patterns spread out and enveloped the entire Bronze Heavenly Court. The impure spiritual qi in the universe suddenly surged towards the Bronze Heavenly Court and merged with the Daoist patterns, forming 9 dragon silhouettes. The dragon's roar echoed throughout the realm. That's the great 9 dragons formation of the Bronze Heavenly Court. Among the spectators, someone could not help but exclaim. Rumor has it that the Bronze Heavenly Court has an unparalleled immortal formation, but no one has seen it for many years. I thought it was fake, but I can't believe that the Great 9 Dragons formation really exists. Such domineering aura is much stronger than that of ordinary immortals. How terrifying! The Bronze Heavenly Court truly lives up to its name. Its resources are extraordinary. Just this formation alone is far more powerful than the army of billions. Everyone was amazed. Meanwhile, the fox's forefather, Gu Xing, and the others could not help but feel worried. Mister, will you be alright? Gu Xing asked. Beside him, Gu Wuqing smiled. I believe in you, mister. This 9 dragons formation is nothing. Among everyone present, he was most familiar with Chu Kuangren's strength. The great 9 dragons formation would not help even if there were a few more of them. Inside the bronze heavenly court, 9 pairs of majestic dragon eyes stared straight at Chu Kuangren, and a terrifying dragon's poise rushed towards Chu Kuangren. Even ordinary immortals could not help but tremble under such a powerful aura. However, Chu Kuangren remained as calm as ever. I've slain quite a few true dragons, what more these few dragon silhouettes of yours? He took a step forward, and his majestic immortal core gushed out like a torrent. Several dragon shadows bore the brunt of the attack and instantly exploded. As the controller of the formation, the Generalissimo felt the impact as well. He spat out a mouthful of blood, his face filled with shock. How could this be? How can your strength be so terrifying? The Grand Marshal was extremely shocked. Then, he pushed his power to its limit and the remaining few dragon silhouettes charged towards Chu Kuangren. Useless effort. Chu Kuangren's sword finger froze. A streak of purple sword light shot out. The remaining dragon shadows were engulfed by the sword light, and in an instant, they shattered into countless specks of light. The 9 dragon formation was defeated. The people of the bronze heavenly court were all stunned. This strength was too unreasonable. What level has his cultivation reached? Oh my God! Judging from his aura, he is indeed an ordinary immortal like us, but what's with his combat strength? Even the strongest 9th stage immortal, the ruler of the bronze heavenly court, didn't have such strength. This was simply too unimaginable. You, who exactly are you? My bronze heavenly court has no enmity with you, sir. Why are you targeting us? The Grand Marshal's eyes were filled with uncontrollable fear. I had a friendship with the ancient immortal, but you killed him. Tell me, don't you deserve to die? Chu Kuangren said calmly. He focused his sword fingers, and the 1,000 lotus swordwill flowed. Purple flowers bloomed in the air, looking extremely beautiful. However, it contained a bone-chilling killing intent. Just as Chu Kuangren was about to finish off the higher-ups of the heavenly court of bronze celestial court, a powerful immortal essence fluctuation suddenly appeared from afar. A pillar of light soared into the sky. Within the pillar of light, a dignified man in a golden robe slowly walked out, and the surrounding stars instantly trembled. It's him, the master of the bronze imperial court. He came out of seclusion. This aura, he has already reached the earth immortal realm. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. How many years has it been? The Green Emperor Galaxy hadn't produced an Earth Immortal for many years. But now, an Earth Immortal had appeared in the Green Emperor Galaxy. The Master has finally come out of seclusion. Not only that, but our Lord has also broken through to the Earth Immortal realm. With this, we'll definitely be able to destroy Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, you're dead meat. The crowd who had fallen into despair once again saw hope. They looked at the golden figure in the distance with a look of admiration. At that moment, the master of the heavenly court of bronze celestial court suddenly opened his eyes. With a surge of his immortal consciousness, he saw everything that was happening. A cold ray of light shot out from his eyes as he looked at Chu Kuangren. How dare you come to the heavenly court of bronze celestial court? You're asking for death. With a lift of his arm, a majestic immortal essence surged. Not only that, but the surrounding stars also trembled, and a large amount of earth chi gushed out towards the master of the heavenly court of bronze celestial court. The immortal essence and earth chi merged together to form a giant palm that covered the sky. Its power was so strong that it shook the entire void. The spectators gulped, shocked by that attack. Is this the combat strength of an Earth Immortal? It's terrifying indeed. So powerful. Compared to the crowd's shock, Chu Kuangren merely glanced at it and casually lifted his hand, unleashing the Thousand Lotus Sword intent. A purple sword ray swept out. Although it did not look as powerful as the master of the Heavenly Court of Bronze Celestial Court, that sword ray tore the giant palm in half like a hot knife through butter. What? The master of the Heavenly Court of Bronze Celestial Court, who was initially in high spirits, was shocked as he took out a defensive immortal weapon. With a bang, that immortal weapon was instantly shattered, and the master of the Heavenly Court of Bronze Celestial Court was swept away by the sword chi, smashing into a star. This scene made everyone's eyeballs pop out. How? How is this possible? Didn't the master of the Heavenly Court of Bronze Celestial Court break through to the Earth Immortal realm? Why is he so weak? Are Earth Immortals this weak? Everyone felt like their world was about to be refreshed. Only Gu Wuqing was not surprised by that scene. Were Earth Immortals strong? Yes, they were strong. Even in the Green Orchid Immortal realm, they would be considered a top-notch powerhouse. Even among the 7 crowns, only Jian Guan was an Earth Immortal. Unfortunately, the master of the Heavenly Court of Bronze Celestial Court was facing Chu Kuangren. You guys will never know what kind of existence you're facing. Gu Wuqing murmured as he looked at Chu Kuangren's back. His eyes were filled with admiration and yearning. Meanwhile, the master of the Heavenly Court of Bronze Celestial Court, who was sent flying by that sword ray, rushed out. This time, he took out an ancient talisman. Go to hell. The master of the Heavenly Court of Bronze Celestial Court roared and activated the ancient talisman. A scorching golden beam of light shot out and pierced through the void. The power of that attack was comparable to a middle-tier Earth Immortal. Oh! Chu Kuangren looked at the ancient talisman and was surprised. Then, the Descendant Self-Sword at his waist was unsheathed. As the Descendant Self-Sword was unsheathed, the Daoist patterns on its body intertwined, and a purple sword chi that could dim countless galaxies was unleashed. That sword attack stunned everyone. That sword attack toppled the universe and overturned the universe. That sword attack shattered the golden beam of light and killed the master of the Heavenly Court of Bronze Celestial Court who had just broken through to the Earth Immortal realm. It also completely extinguished the hope in the hearts of the Grand Marshal and the others. Chu Kuangren retrieved the Descendant Self-Sword and looked at the stunned Grand Marshal and the others. He said, "Your master is quite weak." Chapter 1006. Your master is quite weak. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Meanwhile, the Grand Marshal and the others who were already in a daze did not know what to say. They could only stare at Chu Kuangren blankly, their hearts filled with despair. Chu Kuangren raised his sword and slashed. In an instant, the Grand Marshal and the others perished on the spot. The Bronze Sky Court was completely destroyed. Chu Kuangren grabbed the air and the ancient talisman that the Bronze Sky Court ruler used earlier appeared in his hand. He looked at it carefully. Indeed, this ancient talisman is the Yang talisman of the ancient Yin-Yang talismans. Now all the ancient Yin-Yang talismans have been gathered. Then, he used his immortal consciousness to search the Bronze Sky Court. Most of them were useless to him, but he did not mind. He took them all and planned to bring them back to Firmament Star for the others to use. I'll leave the rest to you guys. Chu Kuangren said to Gu Wuqing and the others. Yes. Soon, the entire Bronze Sky Court was occupied by Gu Wuqing and the others. The other cultivators who came to watch the battle sighed. The Bronze Sky Court is gone just like that? Sigh, is this Chu Kuangren's strength? Terrifying. The cultivators left one by one. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren began to organize his loot from the Bronze Sky Court. Among them, the most commendable one was the Yang talisman. Unlike the Yin talisman, the Yang talisman focused on offense. This talisman could even allow the Bronze Sky Court ruler, who had just stepped into the Earth Immortal realm, to unleash a combat strength close to that of a middle-grade Earth Immortal. Besides the Yang talisman, there were also a few technique validation seals. When immortals created their own immortal techniques, they could obtain the technique validation seals. However, most immortals in the immortal realm had their own inheritances, so they rarely created their own immortal techniques. Creating immortal techniques was time-consuming and exhausting, and the immortal techniques they created might not even be as good as the inheritances. Most immortals would choose to learn the inheritances directly. Only a few would try to create their own immortal techniques. These people usually had great perseverance and were unwilling to fall behind their predecessors. For example, he created the 1,000 lotus sword intent for the sword crown. As for the immortals in the universe, they were not in the immortal realm, so they did not have any immortal ancient inheritances. Most of their immortal techniques were self-created. Hence, many immortals had the technique validation seals. These testimony seals were very useful to Chu Kuangren. His descendant's self-technique could absorb these testimony seals to strengthen itself. Give the Yang talismans to Gu Wuqing and let him gather the Yin Yang ancient talismans to find the Green Emperor Immortal's treasure. As for me, I'll first refine a few testimony seals into testimony kunwu. Also, it's about time for my cultivation to make a breakthrough. Chu Kuangren muttered. He was now a stage 1 ordinary immortal, but recently, he felt that he had accumulated enough to advance to stage 2. At the thought of this, he handed over the task of searching for Immortal Green Emperor's treasure to Gu Wuqing, while he went into seclusion in the Bronze Heavenly Court for a few days. Gu Wuqing accepted the mission. Since he had Chu Kuangren backing him up, he was not afraid of anyone in the Green Royal Galaxy. The battleships arrived at a part of the Green Emperor Galaxy. Here, it was a barren land. The planet floated without any signs of life. Meanwhile, Gu Wuqing walked out of the battlefield and took out the completed Yin Yang ancient talisman. The talisman vibrated and radiated as if it was resonating with the void in front of it. After searching for half a year, this place has the strongest resonance with the Yin Yang ancient talisman. The Green Emperor Immortal's treasure must be hidden in this part of the universe. Gu Wuqing said excitedly. Then, he tossed the ancient talisman into the air. The ancient talisman let out a beam of alternating black and white light that hit the void. Like a large rock being thrown into a lake, the void instantly rippled. A mysterious Daoist fluctuation swept out like a tidal wave, shaking half of the Green Royal Galaxy. All the major forces and orthodoxies reacted to it. This fluctuation is so terrifying. There's Yin and Yang will circulating. Could it be the legendary Green Emperor Immortal? It's the reappearance of the Yin Yang ancient talisman. Someone has found the Green Emperor Immortal's treasure. Is it the Gu family? The Gu family is now under Chu Kuangren's protection. Rumor has it that the Gu family has obtained the Yin talisman, and together with the Bronze Heavenly Court's Yang talisman, it's not impossible for them to find the Green Emperor Immortal's treasure with the Yin Yang ancient talisman. The Green Emperor Immortal was rumored to be the most powerful immortal in the Green Royal Galaxy. The treasure he left behind had always been the biggest mystery in the Green Royal Galaxy. For countless years, people had been searching for it. Now that the Green Emperor Immortal's treasure had appeared, not just the great orthodoxies. Even those who had been living in seclusion began to move towards the location of the ancient Yin Yang will. On an ancient planet. A white-haired old man looked towards the direction of the Yin Yang will with a glint in his eyes. The Green Emperor Immortal's treasure. Rumor has it that the Green Emperor Immortal was a true immortal-level being. The treasure he left behind must be very valuable. Perhaps it can help me break through to the Earth Immortal realm. He got up and flew towards the direction of the Yin Yang will. On the other side. A life star exploded with a loud rumble. A civilization was destroyed just like that. Billions of living beings perished in the explosion. An old man in a blood-red robe walked out of the explosion. His eyes shone with an evil glint. The old man opened his mouth and inhaled. The life energy of the billions of living beings that died in the explosion was sucked into his body. As a large amount of life energy entered his body, the old man, who was originally extremely skinny and looked like he had one foot in the grave, began to turn ruddy. His dry skin also became plump and smooth. Soon, the old man became a handsome young man. The blood-red-robed young man who had sucked the living planet dry looked into the distance and murmured, "The Green Emperor's treasure has appeared? There might be some celestial medicine that can extend my lifespan. This way, I won't have to suck the life energy of others to continue living." In order to continue living and pursue the great Tao, the blood-red-robed young man's eyes shone with determination. In another part of the starry sky, in a palace, many sword cultivators were gathered together. These people exuded a powerful sword will that was unstoppable. The person in the lead was a man in a green robe. This person was the sect leader of the Sky Wind Sword sect, the most famous sword orthodoxy in the Green Emperor galaxy. He was also Zhao Wujing's elder brother. Rumor had it that the reason Zhao Wujing was known as the #1 sword cultivator in the Green Emperor galaxy was largely because his elder brother did not want to compete with him. As for whether it was true or not, only the two of them knew. "My brother, I've told you before that the leader of the Heavenly Bronze Court is not suitable for you to assist, but you didn't listen. To prove that you're stronger than me, you joined the Heavenly Bronze Court, and now you've lost your life in vain." Sigh, the Sky Wind sect leader sighed, and a cold ray of light shot out from his eyes. "Chu Kuangren, I don't care who you are. You killed my brother while I was in closed-door meditation. I'll make you pay for this." A powerful sword will emanated from his body. The surrounding sword cultivators were speechless. Judging by this sword will, the sect leader must have ascended to the Earth Immortal realm. The Green Emperor Immortal's treasure has appeared. Come with me to take it, then we'll kill Chu Kuangren. Yes. With the discovery of the treasure, every sage orthodoxy and hidden strong cultivators made their moves and headed towards the Green Emperor's treasure. Chapter 1007. In the vast universe, somewhere in the sky, a majestic palace appeared out of thin air. Countless Daoist patterns intertwined within the palace, and countless treasured lights circulated within. Extremely dense Daoist fluctuations emanated from the palace, making it much more majestic than the Heavenly Bronze Court. Not far away, Gu Wuqing and the others were pleasantly surprised when they saw the palace. "So this is the Green Emperor's treasure? Look, there are so many elixirs growing on that fake mountain. Not only that, but those two lion statues are made of immortal gold. TSK, this is amazing. We're rich now." Everyone was overjoyed. At that moment, several auras arrived. They were the cultivators who were attracted by the Green Emperor's treasure. Their eyes lit up when they saw the palace before them. "So this is the treasure left behind by the Green Emperor Immortal? This aura is extraordinary indeed. I'm taking it. No one can compete with me for this treasure. It's the Gu clan. Chu Kuangren isn't here. That's great. As long as he's not here, we'll have a chance." Some people also saw Gu Wuqing and the others. At first, they were very wary. However, when they scanned the crowd and realized that Chu Kuangren was not here, they breathed a sigh of relief. If Chu Kuangren were here, 99% of them would probably give up on the idea of competing for the treasure. Gu Wuqing frowned when he saw so many people coming. This is going to be troublesome. Although he was confident that no one would dare to touch them because of Chu Kuangren's influence, he was afraid that he would not be able to stop these people from competing for the treasure. Since ancient times, people had always been tempted by wealth. There were too many people who were willing to risk their lives for the treasure. It really is the Green Emperor's treasure. There are so many elixirs here. I can definitely extend my lifespan by a few more years. A loud laugh was heard as a handsome young man in a blood-red robe leaped into the air, his domineering and cold immortal aura exploding. Seeing this person, everyone revealed a fearful expression. It's him, the blood devourer Immortal. Rumor has it that this person has been famous for many years. He was severely injured during a battle with his enemies and entered the heavenly deterioration stage 5 early. To extend his lifespan, he cultivated an evil technique that absorbs the life energy of others. And every time he uses it, it usually consumes the life energy of a star and billions of living beings. It was extremely terrifying. He's here too. Looks like it's for the immortal herb in the Green Emperor's treasure. As a true immortal's treasure, there would definitely be immortal medicines that could extend the lifespan of immortals. It can even help him get rid of the heavenly decay. Everyone discussed animatedly. After Immortal Blood Devourer appeared, not far away, another white-haired old man walked through the air. This old man has the air of an immortal. Compared to the nauseating, sinister aura emanating from Blood Devourer Immortal could be said to be two extremes. Immortal Vast Wind. Another immortal whose name once shook the Green Emperor galaxy. Looks like this treasure has attracted many hidden experts to come here. Apart from the hidden powerhouses, the other great orthodoxies arrived as well. Among them, the most eye-catching was a group of powerful sword cultivators. These sword cultivators were emanating a powerful sword intent. The strength of the green-robed swordsman's sword intent was far above that of Zhao Wujing in the past. Sky Wind Sword School. Brother Zhao Wujing. This sword intent, was the rumor true? The Sky Wind sect leader's sword Dao strength is even stronger than Zhao Wujing's. This aura, I'm afraid it's not weaker than the master of the heavenly bronze court. No, it might even be stronger, an earth immortal. The arrival of the Sky Wind Sword School shocked many people. Especially the Sky Wind sect leader, whose sword intent was so powerful that many people guessed that his strength had reached the earth immortal realm. Are you people from the Gu clan? At that moment, the Sky Wind sect leader looked at Gu Wuqing and the others. So what if we are? Gu Wuqing's eyes revealed a hint of wariness. He sensed hostility from the other party. Gu Xing, the forefather of the fox demon, and Hu Sanyang were also on their guard. Since the Gu clan has submitted to Chu Kuangren, they should all die. The Sky Wind sect leader said. Then, he raised his hand and slashed at Gu Wuqing and the others. The sword qi circulated and tore through the air. Its power was so powerful that even an immortal like the forefather of the fox demon felt a great pressure, and his pupils shrank. At that moment, Gu Wuqing took a step forward and took out his ancient yin-yang talisman. The ancient yin talisman glowed, and the protective effect of the talisman was activated. A runic barrier instantly enveloped everyone. Boom! The sword qi collided with the runic barrier, causing ripples to form. Oh, so this is the ancient yin-yang talisman left behind by the Green Emperor Immortal? It's indeed impressive, the Sky Wind sect leader said. He pondered for a while and did not attack again. Then, he looked at the palace. Once I've obtained the treasure, I'll take your lives. The rest of the people also made their moves. One by one, they rushed towards the palace, but they were blocked by the barrier outside the palace, unable to enter. The treasure was right in front of them, so how could they give up? Everyone unleashed their immortal techniques on the barrier, but no matter how hard they tried, they could not move the barrier at all. D*****. D*****. The immortal herb is right in front of me, how can I be blocked here? The Blood Devourer Immortal's expression was extremely ugly. He unleashed a palm attack, and blood-colored energy surged like a flood. However, it was still useless. Beside him, the Sky Wind sect leader also made his move. With a slash of his sword, a dazzling sword ray shone brightly and landed on the barrier, causing a loud explosion. Everyone's eyes lit up, and they looked over hopefully. However, after the sword chi dissipated, the barrier was still undamaged. How could this be? Even the Sky Wind sect leader can't do anything about it. Everyone was disappointed. Then, the Blood Devourer Immortal seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Gu Wuqing and said coldly, "This treasure was left behind by the Green Emperor Immortal, and the ancient Yin Yang talisman was also left behind by him. Rumor has it that whoever obtains the ancient Yin Yang talisman will obtain the treasure. In other words, only those with the ancient Yin Yang talisman can enter." Hearing this, everyone felt that the Blood Devourer Immortal's words made sense. Sensing the malicious gazes around them, Gu Wuqing and the others' hearts skipped a beat, and they immediately felt that something was wrong. "Hand over the ancient Yin Yang talisman." The Blood Devourer Immortal was the first to make his move. He stretched out his hand, and his celestial core power turned into a huge blood-colored hand, which smashed onto the rune light shield. "I wanted to get the treasure before dealing with you, but it seems that I have to kill you first," the Sky Wind sect leader said coldly, and he also made his move. The sword ray slashed out, causing the rune light shield to tremble continuously. Inside the rune light shield, the demonic fox forefather, Hu Sanyan, Gu Xing, and the others looked at each other with a determined look in their eyes. "Wuqing, this rune light shield won't last long. We'll buy you some time, and you can enter the palace. With the protection of the barrier, you should be safe," Gu Xing said. Then, he and the demonic fox forefather rushed out, and their celestial core power erupted, aiming at the Sky Wind sect leader. "You've overestimated yourself." However, the Sky Wind sect leader only smiled coldly. With a wave of his hand, a sword ray was unleashed, and the two of them were sent flying. This power caused their pupils to shrink and their faces to be filled with shock. "You've really broken through to the Earth Immortal realm. Humph, I'll kill you two today and take the treasure. Then, I'll seek revenge from Chu Kuangren for killing my brother." The Sky Wind sect leader snorted coldly. At that moment, the void trembled, and the surrounding stars shook. An extremely cold voice suddenly sounded. "Who do you want to seek revenge from?" Chapter 1008. Who do you want to take revenge on? An indifferent voice was heard. Following that, a majestic domineering aura swept out from the void, and a white-robed figure walked out of it. That domineering aura made everyone's expression change. "It's him. He's here. I knew this guy wouldn't miss out on this treasure." Everyone's eyes flashed, and some of the cultivators who were about to attack immediately retracted their auras. Only the Sky Wind sect leader looked at Chu Kuangren with a hint of battle intent in his eyes. Such a domineering aura is indeed extraordinary. The Blood Devourer Immortal's eyes also flashed. A Grade 2 Immortal? This aura far exceeds a Grade 2 Immortal. It must be a Grade 3 Immortal. However, they could only sense Chu Kuangren's cultivation level. As for his combat strength, it was not something that could be measured by one's cultivation level. This was especially true for the cultivators who had witnessed the battle between Chu Kuangren and the Bronze Heavenly Court. They knew very well how terrifying this person was. "No matter what, I must get my hands on the immortal medicine in the Green Emperor's treasure. It doesn't matter who comes." A cold light shot out from the Blood Devourer Immortal's eyes as a small blood-red sword appeared in his hand. That small sword was an extremely powerful immortal sword. Once it was activated, even a top-tier 9th Immortal would be killed. The only flaw was that this small sword could only be used once. Hence, the Blood Devourer Immortal had always kept it as his trump card. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren could kill the Bronze Heavenly Court's ruler. His combat strength must be much stronger than his cultivation level. I'm no match for him. Only this blood sword refined from billions of living beings can kill him. It's not a waste to use it on you. The Blood Devourer Immortal secretly activated the small blood-red sword. In an instant, a blood-red stream of light streaked across the void and headed towards Chu Kuangren at a speed so fast that it seemed like it could travel through time. Oh! Chu Kuangren was surprised as he sensed something. He subconsciously pulled out the Descendant Self sword from his waist and slashed at the void. With a clang, the blood-red sword collided with the Descendant Self sword. After a burst of sparks, the blood-red sword was shattered. Meanwhile, the Descendant Self sword in Chu Kuangren's hand vibrated and buzzed. What? It was blocked. Immortal Blood Devourer's pupils constricted. Without saying anything else, he turned and fled into the distance, fleeing. How decisive. Unfortunately, the moment you made your move, the outcome was already decided, Chu Kuangren said indifferently. The shadow of a dragon suddenly appeared in the void. The image of the dragon transformed into a scarlet rope that firmly bound the Blood Devourer immortal. Right after that, a streak of sword chi slashed across. Blood Devourer immortal spat out a mouthful of blood. After that, Chu Kuangren put away the dragon-taming rope and looked at the sect leader of Skywind sect. Who did you say you were going to seek revenge from? When he saw how Chu Kuangren killed the Blood Devourer immortal with ease, the Skywind sect's leader's gaze turned solemn. Your strength far exceeds your realm. However, he is not invincible. Sword cultivators, get into formation. As soon as he finished speaking, the swordsmen of the Skywind sword sect rushed out. As they surrounded Chu Kuangren, the sword intent on their bodies circulated and resonated with each other. They formed an incomparably powerful sword formation. Endless sword chi. It filled the entire area. Chu Kuangren, come and take a look. Show me the power of the Heavenly Wind Sword Sect Supreme Sword Formation. The sect leader of the Heavenly Wind Sword Sect shouted. And also stepped into the sword array. It resonated with the sword intent. Endless sword chi for him to use. Not to mention that he was already in the Earth Immortal realm. The strength that he had just displayed. It was incomparably terrifying. It was as if he could easily shatter the stars with just a wave of his hand. Come on, Chu Kuangren. Let me see what you've got. The Skywind sect's leader said proudly. With a turn of the immortal sword in his hand, a sword ray flashed, and a majestic sword chi that was millions of meters long slashed towards Chu Kuangren. That sword attack? It was so majestic that it shocked the universe. And that? It was just a casual sword attack from the Skywind sect's leader. Everyone was shocked by the strength that his opponent had displayed. At the same time, they were very curious. Could Chu Kuangren create another undefeatable legend? Chu Kuangren remained calm in the face of the majestic sword chi. He focused his sword fingers and unleashed the Thousand Lotus sword intent. He then raised his sword and slashed out. Lotuses appeared out of thin air, and that majestic sword chi was easily dispelled by Chu Kuangren. It could not hurt him at all. Since you want to have a sword duel, have a taste of my sword. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. He then took a step forward. In an instant, his exquisite 9 orifices sword heart was activated, and the self-invincible origin energy within his body was instantly converted into sword Dao origin energy. At that moment, the sword cultivators in every living star within a radius of 1 billion kilometers seemed to have sensed something, and their expressions changed drastically. Their swords were trembling. It was as if they were trying to surrender. Whose sword Dao is this? It's so terrifying. By the heavens, is there such a sword immortal in the Green Emperor galaxy? Countless sword cultivators could not help but be shocked. Outside the Green Emperor's treasure. Within the sword formation, the sword cultivators of the Skywind sword sect could not help but gulp as they tried their best to control the swords in their hands. However, as the immortal physique fluctuations on Chu Kuangren's body grew stronger, so did the sword Dao that made all swords surrender. Finally, one of the sword cultivators could no longer control the swords in his hands. Whoosh, a sword flew out. 2 swords, 3 swords, 10 swords, 100 swords, 1,000 swords, millions of swords soared into the sky and circled above Chu Kuangren, their cries echoing throughout the starry sky. Having lost their swords, the sword intent of the Sky Wind Sword sect's sword cultivators was also suppressed. Naturally, the sword formation was also broken. Only the Sky Wind sect leader was still resisting with his sword intent, but his expression was extremely grim. Vaguely, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. This is my sword. Supremely powerful. Once the sword strikes, it reigns supreme in the universe. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. His voice echoed throughout the universe like an emperor of the sword, filled with endless majesty. No, this can't be. I've already broken through to the earth immortal realm. No matter how strong your sword Dao is, there's still a huge gap between our cultivation levels. You can't easily make up for it. The Sky Wind sect leader held on to his last glimmer of hope. With a long roar, his sword intent rose to its peak, and the immortal sword in his hand let out a buzzing sound. Sword art, tempest of the 9 heavens. With a slash of his sword, the sword chi was like a raging storm that swept across the 9 heavens. Chu Kuangren's sword finger froze, and it was as still as a mountain. The sword intent and the swords combined, and the surrounding swords formed a giant lotus that blocked the raging sword chi. Chu Kuangren stood in the midst of the countless swords with a calm expression. His white robe was still spotless, and he looked inviolable. Now, it's your turn to receive my sword. Chu Kuangren waved his hand. The swords followed the sword intent and turned into a mighty torrent of swords that carried Chu Kuangren's sword chi. The Sky Wind sect leader looked at the millions of swords that covered the sky. At that moment, he felt that he was incomparably small compared to the vastness of the world. In the blink of an eye, the Sky Wind sect leader was buried by the torrent of swords. He did not even have the time to scream before he turned into dust. The Sky Wind sect leader had fallen. Chu Kuangren waved his sleeves and retracted his immortal physique's fluctuations. The countless swords lost control of their sword intent and scattered in all directions. The surrounding cultivators were silent. They were shocked. Chapter 1009. With the fall of the Heavenly Wind sect leader, Chu Kuangren stood proudly in the void and swept his gaze across the crowd. Is there anyone else who wants to make a move? The surroundings were silent, only his words reverberating. Everyone admitted it. At this moment, Chu Kuangren was invincible in the Green Emperor Galaxy. No one could compete with him. Since no one has any objections, this Green Emperor's treasure belongs to us now, Chu Kuangren said. He looked at Gu Wuqing. Gu Wuqing understood and handed the Yinyang ancient talisman to him. After receiving the ancient talisman, Chu Kuangren walked straight towards the palace. The ancient talisman in his hand released a faint black and white light. Under the protection of the ancient talisman, the surrounding restrictive spells were useless to him. Not long after, Chu Kuangren walked into the palace. He began to search this place for treasures. He first came to a medicinal garden. There were all types of precious medicines and immortal medicines growing here. Chu Kuangren waved his hand and kept the immortal herb into his yin and yang ring. Suddenly, one particular herb field caught Chu Kuangren's attention. That medicinal field was growing in the midst of countless medicinal herbs, but after he collected most of the medicinal herbs in the medicinal field were revealed. Chu Kuangren glanced at it. There were actually many light yellow precious medicines growing there. Moreover, every single one of them was flowing with celestial radiance and was filled with the fluctuations of earth chi. This is the earth immortal grass. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. In the outside world, Immortal Haofang instantly stared with bulging eyes. Earth, it's the Earth Immortal Grass. It said that a single stalk can help a stage 9 immortal quickly break through to the Earth Immortal level. Although Immortal Haofeng was very experienced and knowledgeable, when he saw the medicinal field filled with earthen immortal grass, he instantly found himself unable to remain calm. He had been stuck at the rank 9 immortal stage for a long time. If he could get an Earth Immortal herb, he would definitely be able to break through to the Earth Immortal stage quickly. This was something he had always dreamed of. There are at least 100 stalks of Earth Immortal herbs there. What if I ask Chu Kuangren for them? Will he give it to you? I was too naive. How precious is the Earth Immortal Grass? It's not something that can be casually given away. No matter how difficult it is, I have to try. Even if I have to pay a hefty price, I have to exchange it for an Earth Immortal herb. Immortal Vast Wind thought to himself. As for the others, they were also shocked by the depth of the Green Emperor's treasures. Inside the palace, Chu Kuangren was a little surprised too. Then, he put away the Earth Immortal Grass and headed towards his next destination. This time, he came to a place that looked like a workshop. As soon as he walked in, he felt a sense of heat. A ball of azure divine fire was burning in a furnace in the workshop. This is the Azure Sun Divine Flame of the Divine Flame list. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. This divine fire was ranked 50th on the divine fire list. Compared to the divine fires of the Ming cult, it was much more superior. Could he refine it? His Phoenix Flame's power would definitely increase by a large margin. Not bad, not bad. Chu Kuangren nodded in satisfaction. Then, he raised his hand to release the Phoenix Fire. He wrapped the Azure Sun Divine Fire seed and absorbed it into his body. Then, he looked around. There are shelves in this workshop. There were all kinds of weapons on it. And it wasn't an ordinary weapon. They were all rune weapons. Combining runes with weapon forging? It's the same method as the ancient Yin Yang talisman. Chu Kuangren picked up a sword and examined it for a while. His eyes lit up. These are all immortal weapons. Although most of them were ordinary immortal weapons that were useless to him, he could use them to arm his own people. Everything else aside, Firmament Star was lacking immortal weapons. Other than the immortal weapons, Chu Kuangren also found a lot of crafting notes. These were the Green Emperor Immortal's notes. To Chu Kuangren, these notes were more precious than the immortal weapons and the Earth Immortal Grass. They were all knowledge. Knowledge was power. This was also very applicable in the world of immortal cultivators. Chu Kuangren waved his hand and put away all the immortal weapons, notes, and other things. He then continued to walk towards the next place. Immortal techniques, medicinal pills, immortal metals. Chu Kuangren walked through every corner of the palace. The rewards were so great that he had a smile on his face. Outside the palace, everyone was watching Chu Kuangren loot the treasures. They were so jealous that they almost went crazy, but there was nothing they could do. After all, strength was everything. They did not have the strength. Even if Chu Kuangren turned the palace upside down, they would not dare to say a word. After looting for 3 days and 3 nights, Chu Kuangren finally walked out of the palace with satisfaction and left with Gu Wuqing and the others. After they left, the restriction in the palace also dissipated. It seemed like there was no longer any meaning to it. Since the treasures were all taken, what was the point of leaving the seal behind? When everyone saw that the seal had disappeared, they immediately rushed into the palace and searched everywhere, hoping to find something that Chu Kuangren had missed. Unfortunately, Chu Kuangren did not leave behind a single immortal crystal. Even the 2 lion statues that were made of immortal metals at the entrance were taken away. The huge palace was empty, and there was not a single thing of value left. That goddamn Chu Kuangren is too ruthless. He really didn't leave anything for us. Too ruthless, too ruthless. The crowd was filled with grievances and resentment. Only when Chu Kuangren was no longer around did they dare to voice their complaints. Back at the Heavenly Bronze Court, Chu Kuangren took out a portion of the loot and handed it over to Gu Wuqing and the others for them to distribute. As for the rest, he planned to bring them back to Firmament Star. Regarding this, no one had any objections. After all, they had pledged their allegiance to Chu Kuangren, so they were considered half of Firmament Star's people. Moreover, without Chu Kuangren, they would not be able to obtain any treasures. Perhaps he would even lose his life. Wuqing, I have a pill recipe here. Find someone to help me collect the medicinal ingredients on it, Chu Kuangren said. On it was the pill recipe for the fairy emergence pill. Before returning to Firmament Star, he planned to refine a batch of fairy emergence pills. The Green Royal Galaxy was far more powerful than the Purple Gold Galaxy, so it would be easier to collect these medicinal ingredients. Yes, sir. Gu Wuqing nodded. Next, I'll go into closed-door meditation at the Eternal Star. Chu Kuangren looked at a distant Eternal Star. He suddenly remembered that his immortal stellar physique had not evolved for a long time. This was an opportunity. He wanted to absorb the Eternal Star and cultivate the immortal stellar physique to completion. Everyone was stunned. Going into closed-door meditation at the Eternal Star? What kind of cultivation method was that? However, since Chu Kuangren had said so, they did not have any objections. Sir, Immortal Hao Feng wishes to see you. At that moment, the Forefather Fox walked in and said. Immortal Hao Feng. Let him in. Yes. Not long after, the sage-like Immortal Hao Feng came before Chu Kuangren and greeted him with a fist salute. Greetings, Sir Chu. Brother Hao Feng, is there anything I can help you with? To be honest, I would like to exchange the Earth Immortal Herb with you. He took out an immortal weapon and said reluctantly. That immortal weapon was just an ordinary one. Its value was not even comparable to an Earth Immortal Herb. Immortal Hao Feng knew that too, so he said, Sir, if you have any other conditions, please tell me. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. He was very sincere. I can give you the Earth Immortal Herb, but I don't want anything from you. I want you to serve Firmament Star for 1,000 years. Chapter 1010. I want you to serve the Firmament Star for 1,000 years. Upon hearing these words, Immortal Hao Feng's face changed. This meant that she wanted him to submit to her. Immortals have a long lifespan. 1,000 years is but a snap of a finger. I think it's a very good deal to use this time to exchange for a chance to break through to the Earth Immortal Realm, Chu Kuangren continued. Upon hearing his words, Immortal Vast Wind pondered for a long time, then took a deep breath. If that's the case, I am willing to follow you, sir. Very well, you won't regret it. Chu Kuangren chuckled as he took out an Earth Immortal Herb and handed it to Immortal Hao Feng. It was not that Chu Kuangren had taken a liking to Immortal Hao Feng, but if Firmament Star wanted to develop, it would inevitably require manpower, especially immortals. This Immortal Hao Feng was not bad. After consuming the Earth Immortal Herb, he would definitely be able to break through to the Earth Immortal Realm. That would be enough to serve the Firmament Star. Immortal Vast Wind was stunned for a moment. He stared at the earthen immortal grass in his hand, puzzled. Sir, you're just going to give it to me like that? Aren't you afraid that I'll go back on my word after taking this Earth Immortal grass? Initially, he thought that he would have to make some contributions to Chu Kuangren first to express his sincerity before he could obtain the Earth Immortal Herb. He didn't expect to obtain it so easily. Chu Kuangren smirked at his words. If you doubt someone, don't use them. Trust me, if you dare to go back on your word, you won't be able to escape death no matter where you go. For some inexplicable reason, Immortal Hao Feng shuddered. He suddenly had the feeling that if he dared to go back on his word, there would be nowhere for him to hide, no matter how vast the universe was. Of course, he didn't have such a thought. I understand. Next. Chu Kuangren refined the divine green sun flame in the bronze heavenly court, which increased the power of his phoenix flames to the next level. Next, he arrived before a dazzling star. This star was only one of the dozen or so stars in the Green Emperor galaxy. Among the countless stars in the universe, the scale was considered small. It was just a small star. But even so, this small star was still emitting seemingly endless heat and spiritual power. It radiated outwards continuously. Chu Kuangren could not help but lick his lips as he stared at the glowing giant fireball in front of him. A hint of greed appeared in his eyes. What a treasure! I'm going to devour you right now. As Chu Kuangren spoke, his figure turned into a stream of light and dashed into the star. Terrifying waves of fire instantly gushed forth. This power? Anyone below the immortal level would definitely die. However, Chu Kuangren did not care at all. Flowing sword intent? It isolated the waves of fire. As he went deeper and deeper into the star, Chu Kuangren estimated that the terrifying waves of fire were getting stronger and stronger. If an ordinary immortal was in his position, he would most likely be burnt to ashes. I'm really looking forward to absorbing this star. How strong will my physical body become? Chu Kuangren was a little excited. Not long after, and he went deep into the core of the star. He activated the star immortal body and absorbed the endless star energy into his body. An indescribable heat engulfed his entire body. At that moment, no matter how strong Chu Kuangren's physical body was, he still felt like he was about to melt. Good fellow. As expected of stellar energy. Keep swallowing. He didn't seem to mind at all. Not only did he not reduce the speed of absorption, he pushed the star immortal body and universal furnace body to the extreme. In any case, he had the undying body, so it wouldn't be a problem for him to put on an act. More than half a year passed just like that. However, the star energy seemed to be endless. Even though Chu Kuangren had been absorbing for half a year, the star did not seem to change at all. The star immortal body was still a long way from completion. However, Chu Kuangren was not discouraged. He could feel that his physical body was constantly getting stronger. As his physical body grew stronger, he could feel that the speed at which he absorbed the star's energy was also increasing. Another half a year passed. Compared to when Chu Kuangren first arrived, the star had shrunk visibly. Many civilizations and orthodoxies in the Green Emperor galaxy had noticed this change and sent people to investigate. Something is absorbing the star's energy. That was the conclusion everyone came to after their investigation. In an instant, many cultivators were dumbfounded. The star was the energy source that sustained the development of civilizations. The amount of energy contained in it was unimaginably huge. Moreover, it was extremely violent. Even immortals would find it difficult to get close to it, let alone absorb it. What kind of person would be able to absorb the star's energy for their own use? Moreover, if that person had really absorbed all the star's energy, it would have a huge impact on the Green Emperor galaxy. Although there was more than one star in the Green Emperor galaxy, who could guarantee that the being that had absorbed the star's energy would not absorb the other stars as well? The star's energy is so majestic and terrifying. That being can probably only absorb a small portion of it. There's no way it can absorb all of it. Don't worry, everyone. Some cultivators voiced out their opinion. Hence, everyone decided to wait and see. However, the development of the situation was completely out of their expectations. Not only did the being in the star's absorption speed not slow down, but it was also getting faster and faster. Since the time everyone noticed the anomaly, the star had shrunk by a third. This made everyone feel a little terrified. What kind of being is that? Only Gu Wuqing, the forefather fox, and the others knew the whole story, and they were extremely shocked. Never would they have thought that Chu Kuangren's so-called closed-door meditation at the star was a closed-door meditation technique like this. It was to devour the star. Mr. is really capable of doing what others can't. His cultivation method is really too unique and unimaginable. Gu Wuqing could not help but let out a bitter laugh. Meanwhile, Immortal Hao Feng, who had finally broken through to the Earth Immortal realm after obtaining the Earth Immortal herb and going through closed-door meditation, was also shocked. He suddenly felt that following such an existence might be the biggest turning point in his life. Just when the entire Green Emperor galaxy was worried about the star's anomaly, there was a sudden change in the star. On this day, a purple sword ray shot out from the star. That sword ray headed towards the heavenly bronze court. Many cultivators who were paying attention to the star's changes naturally saw that sword ray as well, and they all had a strange look on their faces. That was because they were very familiar with the sword ray's aura. This aura. It's Chu Kuangren. The one inside the star is Chu Kuangren? Oh my god, what the hell is this guy up to now? The identity of the being in the star had been revealed. Although everyone was surprised, they also felt that it was reasonable. After all, in the Green Emperor galaxy, the only person who could do something as unbelievable as devouring a star was Chu Kuangren, an existence that could not be measured by common sense. Everyone was more curious about the sword ray that Chu Kuangren unleashed. The sword ray was like a rainbow. In a blink of an eye, it crossed hundreds of millions of miles and soon arrived at the heavenly bronze court. Gu Wuqing and the others who occupied the place also noticed the sword ray's arrival, and they looked at it curiously. The sword ray transformed into Chu Kuangren, who stood in the air and said, "The firmament star is in danger. Everyone, move out immediately and provide support as soon as possible." Chapter 10-11. Firmament was in danger. Everyone had to rush to their aid. The news shocked Gu Wuqing, Gu Xing, and the forefather fox because they knew very well what it meant. Firmament Star was Chu Kuangren's home planet. It was also where they would migrate to in the future. Everyone, hurry to Firmament Star. I wonder who dares to target Mr. Chu's home planet. They must be tired of living and have a death wish. We will not shirk away from Firmament Star when it's in danger. It's time to show off. Gu Wuqing and the others reorganized their men and boarded their warships, heading towards the Purple Gold Galaxy, Firmament Star. Fortunately, the Purple Gold Galaxy and the Green Royal Galaxy were not too far apart. They were only a few thousand light-years apart. It might be difficult for the Purple Gold Galaxy's cultivators to travel to the Green Royal Galaxy, but for the Green Royal Galaxy, which had a lot of advanced technology and even immortals, it was not a difficult task. The Green Royal Galaxy's most advanced warships were more than 10 times faster than the Purple Gold Galaxy's most advanced warships. While Gu Wuqing and the others were heading towards the Purple Gold Galaxy to support Firmament Star, Chu Kuangren was still in closed-door meditation in the star. He had reached the final juncture and was only one step away from completing the Starlight Immortal physique. Besides that, the most important reason was that Firmament Star was not really in a desperate situation. Although there was a certain degree of danger, the 5 Affinities Divine Shadow Army that he left behind was enough to hold on until Gu Wuqing and the others arrived. As for those who dare to covet my Firmament Star, I don't care who they are. Once I'm out, I'll grind your bones into dust. Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed coldly. Then, he began to speed up his absorption of the star's energy. At this moment, in the Purple Gold Galaxy, thousands of light-years away, Firmament Star, in the Firmament Kingdom. The Sword Daoist Master, the Chaos Daoist Master, the Dharma Daoist Master, Luo Shui, and a group of cultivators whom Chu Kuangren was familiar with were gathered together. At this moment, their faces were filled with worry. The enemy this time is not the same as the Blood Tribe. They come from an immortal civilization that is much more powerful than the blood source planet. They might even be an immortal orthodoxy because they have immortals. The myriad laws, Daolord said bitterly. Although the firmament star had grown much stronger over the years, and the Daolords present had all broken through to become great Dao masters, and even heavenly Dao masters, it was still wishful thinking for them to face an immortal. Immortality was the highest realm that countless cultivators in the firmament star pursued. In the eyes of many cultivators, that was the end of cultivation. And now, they were about to face an immortal. Does the king know what we're facing now? I think so. After all, that Xuantian Dao main puppet contained a strand of the king's consciousness, Elder Ruyan said. But even if the king returns, can he deal with the immortals? The Buddhist Daoist lord in the golden red kasaya said hesitantly. Although everyone at the scene had unparalleled confidence in Chu Kuangren, their opponent this time was an immortal. To them, that was the end of cultivation. It was the ultimate realm of a cultivator. Could Wang Zaiqiang face the ultimate? Yes. At this moment, a powerful voice rang out. Gu Linglong walked in. She looked at the crowd and said, "Haven't our husband created enough miracles? We should believe in him. Just now, the consciousness that he left behind told me that he would return as soon as possible. What we need to do now is to hold our ground. Protect the firmament star." She took a deep breath and looked into the sky. Our husband said that the immortals are not invincible. Moreover, we've all witnessed the combat strength of the 5 elemental divine shadow army that our husband left behind. If the 5 commanders join forces, they'll be able to fight against the immortals. At the mention of the 5 elemental divine shadow army, everyone's eyes lit up. This army that Chu Kuangren left behind was just too miraculous. They did not see how much they cultivated, but their cultivation levels kept increasing. Now, the 5 commanders of the 5 elemental divine shadow army were far more powerful than the Sky Lord. They could even fight against the legendary false immortals. When the 5 of them joined forces, no one in the firmament star could defeat them. The firmament star's ability to fight against the foreign visitors was largely due to the strength of the 5 elemental divine shadow army. Besides the divine shadow army, we still have a trump card. Gu Linglong said. The crowd could not help but feel curious. What trump card? Before Gu Linglong could say anything, a violent tremor suddenly came from beyond the sky. Then, the hateful parting heaven formation began to ripple. It was obvious that it had been attacked by an external force. The Heavenly Law sect is attacking again. The Dharma Daoist master's eyes turned cold. The Heavenly Law sect was the foreign enemy of the firmament star. Prepare to fight. Gu Linglong said solemnly. In the shortest time possible, she quickly arranged the manpower and combat strength. Then, she led her people and flew into the sky. On the firmament star, outside the hateful parting heaven formation, countless battleships stood in the sky, and countless cultivators hovered in the sky. On the leading battleship stood an old man in a gray robe. The old man's body shone with a brilliant celestial light. He was the commander of this army, and he was also the biggest threat that the firmament star was facing. An immortal. The old man, Immortal Ching Song, looked at firmament star with a strange glint in his eyes. Firmament star doesn't even have any immortals, yet it can nurture such a powerful heavenly Tao. How strange. If I can conquer this firmament star and uncover its secrets, it'll definitely be beneficial to my advancement in the Heavenly Road sect. I might even be favored by the Kun Tian Daoist. Immortal Azurepine thought to himself. He came from the Tian Dao sect, and the Tian Dao sect was one of the strongest powers in the universe. It ruled over countless galaxies and strengthened itself by absorbing the heavenly Daos of other planets with life. That was why it was called the Tian Dao sect. Celestial Green Pine was a celestial from Tian Dao sect's Kun Meridian. He roamed the universe to search for planets with life with potential for the Kuan Meridian's Daozi. He would occupy them and let the Daozi absorb them to strengthen themselves. Now, he had his eyes on Firmament Star. It was a strange planet that possessed a powerful heavenly Tao, but its cultivators were extremely weak. It didn't even have any immortals. This made him very puzzled. Logically speaking, such a powerful heavenly Tao should have given birth to a few immortals over the long years. However, the Firmament Star did not. There must be something fishy going on here. It can't be that the heavenly Tao grew so quickly in just a few short years, right? Celestial Green Pine shook his head and smiled. This idea was too ridiculous. The Tian Dao sect was the orthodoxy that was the best at using the heavenly Tao in the universe. However, even they did not have such records. Once I conquer this planet, I must study the secrets behind it. Celestial Green Pine thought to himself. Lord Star Hunter, those people are here. Just then, a cultivator walked up to Celestial Green Pine and said. The Star Hunter leader was a position in the Tian Dao sect. It referred to the cultivators who specialized in searching for planets with life for the Tian Dao sect and invading the heavenly Tao. Celestial Green Pine was one of the Star Hunters. Alright, I understand. Celestial Green Pine looked at the Daoist masters who flew out from the Firmament Star. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. Last time, I didn't expect that army to be so powerful, so I suffered a small loss. This time, let's see who can stop me. Chapter 10-12. Gu Linglong, the Dharma Daoist master, the Chaos Daoist master, and the others rushed out of Firmament Star and looked at the warships in front of them with solemn expressions. Compared to the last time, the scale of this one is even bigger. It seems like this person is determined to take over Firmament Star. Humph, how can we let them get what they want? That's right, we won't allow it. The Dharma Daoist master and the others looked determined. Behind them, thousands of divine shadow soldiers lined up in a row. Their aura was overwhelming, and the aura of the five elements surrounded them, shaking the universe. The leader, the five elements commander, stared coldly at Immortal Azure Pine, a cold look in his eyes. Immortal Qing Song looked at the five elements divine shadow soldiers and exclaimed, "What a divine shadow army! A planet without even an immortal has such a mystical army. This planet has a lot of secrets." The more he thought about it, the more he wanted to take over Firmament Star and dig out all the secrets of this planet. He had a hunch that the Firmament Star would probably be the most memorable event in his life as a star hunter. Kill these stubborn people on the spot. Thinking of this, Immortal Qingsong could not wait any longer. He waved his hand, and the warships exploded with countless energy beams. Firmament Star also had warships that started to attack the enemy. In an instant, beams of light bloomed in the cold, dark universe. It was dazzling and dazzling. The cultivators from both sides also started to fight. After years of development, Firmament Star had many new Daoist masters. With the addition of the five elements divine shadow soldiers, although it was a bit of a stretch, they were able to resist Immortal Qing Song's attack. However, everyone knew that the key was Immortal Qing Song. He was the biggest threat. This time, I want to see how you will survive this. Immortal Qing Song said coldly. Then, he took a step forward. Suddenly, a majestic immortal primary energy swept out, shaking the universe. This power made all the Daoist masters feel unparalleled pressure, and they felt like kneeling. Although they had experienced Immortal Qing Song's power before, they still felt an indescribable shock when they faced him again. This is an immortal. The Tao Master of Myriad Laws, the Tao Master of Chaos, and the others felt that a single strand of such power could easily kill them. At this moment, the five commanders of the five elements divine shadow army made their move. Form the five elements formation. Alright. The five commanders each occupied a corner, and their bodies surged with origin energy. They were metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The power of the 5 elements circulated and intertwined in the void, forming a colorful 5 elements barrier that completely enveloped Immortal Xianxia. The boundless immortal elemental energy was also isolated by the barrier. The 5 Elements Divine Shadow Army was a deity-level army. This army was linked to Chu Kuangren's strength. As long as Chu Kuangren's strength increased, their strength would follow suit. Now that Chu Kuangren had ascended to become an immortal, the strength of the 5 Elemental Shadow Army had also increased by leaps and bounds. Even the weakest among them had reached the level of a heavenly Tao Lord. Moreover, the 5 commanders had mastered origin energy, so their individual combat strength was comparable to a half-immortal's. When the 5 of them formed a formation, it was even more powerful. The 5 of you have almost the same cultivation level, and each of you cultivates one of the 5 elements. You have great teamwork, and your 5 elements formation is the most perfect I've ever seen. I'm really curious. Are you guys really from this tiny firmament star? Immortal Xianxia asked curiously. However, the 5 elements commanders did not answer him. Kill. Commander Sharp Gold snorted coldly. He raised his arm and gathered the metal origin energy, which turned into a sharp sword shadow and slashed down. Immortal Xianxia was as steady as a mountain. He attacked with his palm, and his immortal elemental energy immediately shattered the sword shadow, sending Commander Sharp Gold flying. The other 4 commanders also joined in the attack. The endless growth of wood, the aggressive and violent invasion of fire, the ever-changing changes of water, the steady and heavy earth, and the incisive sharpness of metal, the great formation of 5 elements was fully unleashed by them, and they attacked Immortal Xianxia ferociously. Terrifying energy waves exploded one after another. After a fierce battle, the 5 commanders used almost all of their skills. However, the Immortal Xianxia's power was unshakable, and they did not suffer much damage. I was careless last time, and that's why I lost to you guys. This time, even if you use all of your skills, you won't be able to hurt me. Immortal Xianxia sneered. The 5 elements commanders' expressions became extremely solemn. The difference between an immortal and a lower immortal was indeed huge. As long as we're still standing, don't even think about setting foot on Firmament Star. Commander Sharp Gold said coldly. Protecting Firmament Star was the mission that Chu Kuangren had entrusted to them. In order to carry out this mission, they were willing to give up everything. Immortal Xianxia sneered when he heard that. As he raised his arm, a wooden sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Although it was a wooden longsword, it emanated an extremely horrifying aura that made one's heart tremble. It was an immortal weapon. How long do you think your 5 elements formation can last against my wood sword? Immortal Xianxia said with a murderous intent. Oh, what if I join you? At that moment, a cold voice rang out. A beautiful figure stepped into the 5 elements formation. It was Gu Linglong. Queen. Queen, it's dangerous, leave now. Commander Sharp Gold and the others' expressions changed. Although Gu Linglong had improved a lot over the years and had reached the level of a heavenly lord with the help of various resources, even the 5 elements commanders were still a distance away from her, let alone someone like Immortal Xianxia. I know what I'm doing. Gu Linglong waved her hand and said. Immortal Xianxia could not help but sneer. Queen. Are you the one in charge of Firmament Star? A mere heavenly lord wants to turn the tables? You must be dreaming. That's not necessarily true. Deliberately mystifying. Speaking of which, if you are the Empress, then where is your king? Could it be that you are a coward? He's coming. Gu Linglong took out a wooden puppet. A puppet? Immortal Xianxia was stunned for a moment. However, he glanced at it and realized that the puppet was only at the level of a heavenly lord. it would not affect the battle at all. The five elements commanders, the Dharma Daoist master, and the others were confused too. They knew that it was a puppet left behind by Chu Kuangren and that it contained a trace of his consciousness. However, it was only a heavenly lord puppet. How could it be a match for immortal Qing Song? Then, Gu Linglong once again did something that surprised everyone. She struck out with her palm and crushed the puppet fighter. Shatter the puppet? What are you doing? Immortal Qing Song frowned. Then, he stopped thinking and raised the Yi-wood sword. It doesn't matter what you're doing now. Die. With a swing of the wooden sword, a majestic sword qi swept out. Anyone who was not an immortal would definitely die if they were hit by that sword. Queen! No! Everyone cried out in alarm, their faces filled with anxiety. At that moment, a terrifying force erupted from Gu Linglong's body and swept across the entire area like a raging storm. Gu Linglong raised her hand and pushed it out. It was the undefeatable technique, Heaven and Earth Reversal. Furthermore, the punch contained an incomparably powerful force of the heavenly Tao, completely shattering the sword qi that was slashing at him. The entire area fell silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. This aura, it's the king. Chapter 10:13. This aura, is that of a ruler? The entire battlefield fell silent. The Chaos Daoist Master, Sword Daoist Master, Luo Shui, and the others stared at Gu Linglong in a daze. It was as if they were looking at that indomitable ruler. That was their belief, their ruler. At that moment, Gu Linglong's eyes were calm and contained an unfathomable heavenly might that made Elder Pine Immortal's heart palpitate. Who are you? Elder Pine Immortal asked solemnly. Those who offend the firmament immortal shall die. Gu Linglong said in an indifferent tone. Her demeanor was exactly the same as Chu Kuangren's. In other words, Gu Linglong was Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren's consciousness was transferred from the Sky Lord Battle Puppet Master to Gu Linglong. He had borrowed her body to reappear. Humph, I don't care who you are or what tricks you're playing. With the cultivation base of this body, how are you going to resist the might of an immortal? Go to hell. Elder Pine Immortal made his move. He swung the wooden sword in his hand once again, and a terrifying sword qi engulfed and extended for hundreds of millions of meters. He did not hold back in this attack. Because of the intense sword qi, the 5 ways enchanted boundary around them trembled as if it would be destroyed in the next moment. However, Gu Linglong remained calm and fearless. She lifted her hand, and an even more terrifying heavenly Tao energy erupted along with the technique of invincibility that had been upgraded to an immortal technique. The tip of her fist swept across the starry sky and collided with the sword qi. Although Gu Linglong had the technique of invincibility, her cultivation base was still far from an immortal's. However, the firmament star's heavenly Tao was not to be trifled with. Chu Kuangren had devoured other heavenly Taos many times, so the firmament star's heavenly Tao's strength had long reached a level that was comparable to an immortal's. Boom, 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 the tip of her fist and the sword qi collided, causing the entire universe to tremble and the void to shatter. As Gu Linglong lifted her hand, a giant golden seal appeared out of thin air and smashed towards Elder Pine Immortal. It was the firmament star's human tribe's supreme treasure of fortune, the human ruler's seal. This item was closely related to the human tribe's luck. The stronger the firmament star's humans were, the more powerful the seal would be. After all these years of development, the might of the Man-King seal couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as it was in the past, and it wasn't even inferior to an immortal artifact. Immortal Qingsong raised his wooden sword and slashed out. With a clanging sound, the wooden sword collided with the man-ruler seal, causing a thunderous sound to ring out. The man-ruler seal flew out, but Immortal Qingsong was sent flying as well. The wooden sword in his hand trembled uncontrollably, and his arm went numb. What a formidable power of the heavenly Daoist. Not to mention, this fate treasure. It's definitely not something that can be taken down in a short period of time. Furthermore, there's still the 5 elements grand formation. Those 5 captains are eyeing me like tigers watching their prey. If I continue to fight, I'm afraid it won't be good for me. Immortal Azurepine thought to himself. Then, he coldly snorted, "Retreat." After receiving the order, the cultivators began to retreat. "I'll let you guys go again today. The next time I come here will be the day I set foot in Firmament Star," Immortal Xianxia said coldly. With that, he broke open the 5 elements grand array and turned to leave. After the enemies left, the Sword Dao Master, the Chaos Dao Master, and the others walked over and looked at Gu Linglong in shock. "You are, King?" the Chaos Dao Master asked curiously. Gu Linglong nodded. "Yes, the battle puppet's body can no longer withstand the full power of the heavenly Daoist. That's why my consciousness is temporarily borrowing Linglong's body. However, I'm afraid it won't be long before my consciousness dissipates." Chu Quanren's consciousness was left behind before he ascended to become an immortal, so its power was not that strong. Borrowing Linglong's body to activate the heavenly Daoist power had consumed most of it. Then what should we do next time the heavenly Dao sect attacks? "Please advise, King," the Chaos Dao Master said. "There's no need to worry. The people I've sent are already on their way. They'll be here soon. Before that, all of you shall guard the hateful sky formation and wait for reinforcements," Gu Linglong said. Then, she summoned the Man-Ruler seal and channeled the power of the heavenly Daoist into it before throwing it into the hateful sky formation to stabilize it. After that, Chu Quanren's consciousness slowly dissipated. The original Gu Linglong's consciousness returned to her physical body and said, "My husband has given his orders. Let's go back and set up our defenses." "All right." Everyone nodded and returned to Firmament Star. Meanwhile, Immortal Xianxia, who had just left, was so angry that his mouth twitched. Good. I didn't expect Firmament Star to have such a hidden power. What a surprise. As an immortal, he had been defeated time and time again on a planet without any immortals. This made him extremely angry. Immortal Xianxia took a deep breath and temporarily suppressed his anger. He then took out a communication crystal. "Looks like I can only contact the nearby star hunters. Although I'm a little reluctant, this is the only way to quickly take down Firmament Star and study its secrets." A few months later, the army led by Immortal Xianxia met with another army. The leader of this army was a burly man with a domineering aura. He carried a saber on his back. "Iron Saber Immortal, how have you been?" Immortal Xianxia went up to greet him. Like him, this person was also an immortal from the Kun lineage of the Heavenly Dao sect, so they had a good relationship. He briefly told him about Firmament Star. Iron Saber Immortal could not help but be surprised. "Oh, there's such a strange planet with life? This has piqued my interest. Yes, that's why I asked you to come. Let's take down this planet with life together and share its secrets," Immortal Xianxia said. "Huh, all right." Iron Saber Immortal nodded. "Come, you've come from afar. I've already prepared a banquet to welcome you. Let's go." The two of them chatted and laughed. They did not think much of Firmament Star. To them, Firmament Star did not have any immortals guarding it. How could it possibly be a match for 2 immortals? They would definitely be destroyed like withered twigs and rotten wood. After the 2 immortals finished their meeting, they led their respective armies and headed towards Firmament Star. When the larger army arrived, Gu Linglong, the Chaos Daoist Master, the Water Dao Sect Master, and the others were mentally prepared. However, when they saw the 2 immortals, they could not help but be shocked. 2 immortals? That's right. What kind of strength does this heavenly law sect have? It's too scary. This heavenly law sect is probably one of the top orthodoxies in the universe. They actually have their eyes on Firmament Star. We're in trouble. Outside Firmament Star. The two immortals arrived together and ordered their warships to attack the hateful parting heaven formation outside Firmament Star. However, with the reinforcement of the human ruler's seal, the formation seemed to be impregnable. The attacks from the warships could not shake it at all. This Firmament Star is quite interesting. Iron Saber Immortal smiled faintly. He took a step forward into the void and unsheathed the long saber on his back. As soon as the long saber was in his hand, a cold saber aura exploded. Slash! As the saber slashed down, a huge saber shadow wrapped in immortal core waves shook the entire hateful parting heaven formation. The entire Firmament Star was shaken. You're tuning into the Unparalleled SwordWill YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.